Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month-to-month basis. It's time to crack open our Movie Memoirs! All right. So, it is February. Dragon, we just got through with January of 2022 was by far, I would say, like even including 2020, somehow maybe the deadest month that we ever had.
Quite possibly.
But yeah, this month kind of turned it around. There's definitely some good stuff ahead. But before we get to it, and also, folks, we're introducing a new format that it only took us freaking 3 years to realize it'd be better to do. Instead of having you guys sit through like 90 minutes of like, okay, now we're going to go through the TV and now we're going to go, basically we're going to switch TV and the new 2022 movies. We're going to go through the news first. And then right after the news, we're going to jump straight into February 2022 movies. So stick around, folks. It won't be quite as long of a wait. All right, Dragon. Should we do this band? Do you want a bigger band? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we usually use the other one, so.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So news, Dragon. Fortunately, unlike January 2022, I mean, I shouldn't say fortunately. There's still a death and a big death, but it was the only major one. I mean, I'm sure other people died, but my God, this is the only legend that died.
It wasn't like a holocaust of death, that
Yeah.
last
Well, that's happening in the real world right now, unfortunately.
Well, thanks for reminding me of that. But yeah.
Well, I'm just saying. But yeah, Ivan Reitman.
Yes, so we lost Ivan Reitman, one of the great perennial directors, directed so many beloved comedy
Animal
classics.
House, American Werewolf, Ghostbusters. The list goes on.
Yeah, I mean, also like my favorite Schwarzenegger movies, Twins and Kindergarten Cop. That was Reitman. Did Stripes, which kind of brings.
Wait, Werewolf wasn't him.
No, it wasn't him.
That was John Landis. I'm getting my wires crossed. My bad.
Right. Wait, did you say American Werewolf?
Yes.
Yeah, that was John Landis.
I totally got my wires.
I misheard you. I thought you said Teen Wolf, which gave me a like, wait a minute, did he do Teen Wolf? But no,
it feels like, I don't think he did, but it feels like something he would do.
No. But seriously, so Ivan Reitman, just off the top of my, just again like the biggies, and again like any director, there are some not so good movies he directed, but there are a lot of great movies he directed. Though you got the two Ghostbusters, you got Twins, you got Kindergarten Cop, you got Stripes, and of course, Dave.
Yeah, I still need to check that one out.
Yeah, I like that, with the films, honestly, with the best of his work, and particularly Dave, what he did really well is that he brought something extra to the comedy, I felt, where
he was a pioneer of high concept comedy, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the 80s and 90s were really his turf, man. He carved out such a wonderful, path for himself between the films of the 80s and the 90s. And I feel with the 90s, as he kind of got on, he added even more sentiment into things, and you get kind of that with something like Dave or Twins, where again it's kind of an absurd situation, but there's like so much kind of genuine heart in it, and of course, with the timing of Reitman's passing, the eerie kind of quality of it all is he passes after his son directs Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, that's where I got the John Landis thing crossed, because I knew his son had just recently done something, and Max Landis, of course, famous son of John Landis. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, also just in addition to the directing, he's produced some of the stuff that we know as well. He produced Space Jam, did the Hitchcock movie with with Anthony Hopkins, and also Beethoven, another Grodin featuring film.
Hitchcock is okay. Anyways.
Yeah. The point being it's a shame to have lost him, but if you're gonna go out, I mean, it's kind of like how much of a reflective, kind of like where you're gonna go out, in which your children have. I mean, honestly, both of Reitman's kids. I'm not. I don't know anything that the third child of his has done, but I know Catherine Reitman. She has the show Working Moms, which is great. And the thing with Working Moms is kind of relevant to here now is that the first season, I believe, had Dan Aykroyd play essentially kind of like a fill-in for her real-life father, and he passed in the show. That was the idea. So they, it's kind of heady how that works out. Where again, there's like kind of a sweet and brief dynamic between kind of father and daughter, and just having kind of like a funny father. And yeah, it's a shame to see the Masters go, but I mean, it's as is to say, at least only one went this month compared to the litany
Yeah.
of last month. But seriously, Reitman put a lot of good out into the world, man. He carved the comedy niche that I think shaped both you and I and many others for many a decade.
All right, casting for the Sony Spider-Man movies. First of all, Dragon, I don't know if you heard this, and I don't know how legit it is, but apparently Garfield said in an interview that he has no plans to return to Spider-Man.
Well, to be fair, now we can't trust anything with any of these Spider-Man actors.
I know.
So,
watch, he's going to pop up in Multiverse of Madness.
have you heard about the fake butt thing?
No. Oh, God, I don't want to know.
Okay, never mind then. So,
why do you have to bring butts into the equation, Dragon? Because whenever I think of 50 Shades of Grey, I just think of the butt plug thing.
Oh, God, no, I wasn't going there at all.
I'm just saying with Dakota Johnson, it's like, I'm sure she's a fine actress, but man, she's like, to me, she's still kind of like in that Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, like immediately after Twilight thing where it's hard to disassociate her with 50 Shades.
Okay, my point was for the release of the new all the bonus features, yet no commentary on the No Way Home Spider-Man release. They're really teeing up right now. They're doing some press. And Andrew, I forget if it was Holland or Andrew Garfield, kind of let the secret loose that one of the three Spider-Man has like a fake butt built into the costume, and they've been having some fun with that.
All right, great.
I don't know. It was a cute little story,
Butt padding exists.
Fine. Take out all the fun. All right, take out all the whimsy. Anyway, so
that's what I'm here to do, Dragon. That's my job.
Fine.
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Anywho, but yeah, so there's more on the non-thrilling expansions to the Spider-Man universe. Unless it includes Spider-Verse, I don't really care at this point. Where it's like Dakota Johnson's been cast as Madam Web. Basically, these are the holdover bad movies that we heard. Like, hey, we're trying to build a universe without Spider-Man.
We're still getting the Aunt May movie, Dragon. It's happening.
This is not filling me with confidence that we're not getting that Aunt May movie. It's like, oh, God, we're doing a Madam Web movie. And here's the thing. If you're going to do a Madam Web movie, I mean, the only way that's going to work to me is like, okay, Madam Web, traversing the Spider-Verse. That's the only way that movie works to me. Mm-hmm. You get someone like Helen Mirren.
But why not just have her as part of the Spider-Verse movie?
I know, exactly. Which then that thing, even if you overthink it just a little bit, it's going to be, yeah, well, why don't we just do that?
Yeah.
So either way, it's a faulty idea. But even if you're going to do that, here's an idea. Maybe let's get Helen Mirren to play Madam Web or Olivia Colman. Maybe
right.
The vivacious Dakota Johnson.
Dragon, they want sexy Madam Web.
I don't even know if Dakota Johnson's English. I don't think she is.
I think she might be. I'm not sure.
Okay, fine, fair enough. Well, the point being, it just feels like,
I don't know.
Why are we skewing young, and why are we doing a Madam Web movie in the first place? And then it gets worse with, hey, Russell Crowe is going to be added to the Kraven the Hunter.
Okay, to be fair with Russell Crowe, I mean, I love the dude, and I think he pretty much elevates almost anything he's in.
That's true.
But I am just totally and completely unenthusiastic about this Kraven the Hunter movie.
I think we all are, for the very simple
reason. I love Kraven the Hunter as a character. Mm-hmm. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson is just awful casting, in my opinion. Just really bad.
Knowing what we could have gotten.
Really bad casting. Like, even like if he knocks it out of the park, fine. But it'll be literally the first time that he's actually like impressed me in anything.
Well, I think at the end of the day, I think Johnson's going to do a fine job, but it won't be anything really good or like really that's what we should have gotten with Kraven.
Right,
like, okay,
right.
I think he'll be able to muddle through, is what I'm saying. Like, give him the role. I think he'll have fun with it. He'll
Give
do
me like a Jeffrey Dean Morgan or something.
well. Again, I think the Stefan Kapsik. Let's get an actual Russian guy to play Kraven the Hunter. Novel idea. Anyway, but that's
he's literally just going to do the Quicksilver accent.
That's the sad. That's the
sad.
Spider-Man,
you do not see that coming.
It's the sad reality. Regardless, it's just the Kraven Hunter movie is the very simple. Like, well, what's he going to hunt if not Spider-Man? How are we going to do this without Spider-Man?
That's really stupid.
Yep. It is, and I don't understand why we're still stuck in this. Even if we're like doing the promise of eventually he'll be crossing over in we'll work a version of Kraven or something into the movies. Well, why are we doing this? The Spider-Man-less Kraven movie.
I mean, Kraven, I feel like at this point is probably the most iconic Spider-Man villain that has not gotten a live-action representation yet. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy Kimmel's made such a meal out of like everyone knowing Kraven the Hunter and wanting him to be in a Spider-Man movie. So I think there's some notoriety with Kraven. So,
why not just have him be the villain in the next Holland Spider-Man movie?
Yeah. I mean,
forget this standalone bullshit. Just have him be the villain.
I mean, I will say this much. This is the only thing I can ever give this premise ever is that. Right now, what they're doing with these spin-off Spider-Man villain films, or these spin-off Madam Web, I have no idea what they're going to do there, but let's just say in general with Spider-Man villain films. I mean, the most you can really do with one of those films is an origin piece, and let me put it this way. Morbius, barely an origin. Kraven, there's at least a story you kind of want to know there, but again, there's only so much you can do with that until, okay, well, now he's a hunter, and what's he going to do? He's just going to maybe...
yeah, like, to me, there's, like, no driving force in that plot at all.
Let me put it this way. The coolest thing they've announced with this Kraven the Hunter movie to me is, like, hey, they're going to do the whole Chameleon being his brother thing, which is, like, that's cool, but is Chameleon going to do his, like, disguise thing and go up against Spider-Man? Because that's when I would really care.
Right.
So, yeah. All right, so then we transition to some news that, again, there's a funny thing this month. A lot of news has been kind of like bad and then kind of readjusted to be not so bad or good. So we've had quite a ride with kind of our news items at the very last minute here, and all of it to turn around the first day of March, just very early. So serendipity, what have you, whatever you want to call it. So Futurama returns to Hulu, and you're in some cases for better or for worse.
Yeah. Dragon, I could not be less enthused about this. I'm going to be totally, like, brutally honest with you.
Okay, what do you
got? Futurama is a show that I feel like has more than run its course. I feel like the Comedy Central episodes were notably weaker than the Fox episodes. And I feel like the Comedy Central run got fucking lucky with having a finale that could really work as a series finale, as well as the Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings could. And they're just going to do it again. More episodes because they need money. I don't care how well they're written. I don't care about seeing the characters again. Sometimes you just got to let the story die, Dragon. And as far as I'm concerned, they've done about all they can do with Futurama already.
Okay, I have a point to make. Before I do that, I want to ask you something. Okay, so do you think Hulu, as this is just continuing Hulu setting a dangerous precedent with like the revival of the Animaniacs and such? Do you think this is like continuing in that pattern of like let's dig up the past and let's just throw it on the screen again?
I mean, to be fair, Animaniacs, like, it does have some execution issues, but like that's a show that was kind of begging to be rebooted in a way. Futurama is just a show where it's like it feels like it wasn't long ago that the Comedy Central run was going on. And every episode I saw of the Comedy Central run, I haven't seen all of them, but every episode I saw was just kind of like, okay, like these are the characters kind of just going through the motions.
Did you see the penultimate episodes of Futurama?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. They had some really good ones in that last season, though. I think you might have missed some of those.
Well, still, like I said, my big issue here is that they're doing like the show has ended really well twice.
Yes.
And I just, especially the ending of the Comedy Central run, it's a little insulting. It's like, okay, Fry and Leela, will they, won't they?
Hey, Tiki, what was the first ending of Futurama?
The devil's hands are idle playthings.
So really, I didn't know so
Yeah.
that was the ending.
Mhm.
Okay. I thought that was just like because I think for me, I just lost track of like when the seasons ended. So
Yeah.
so that's okay. So that is a good ending, man. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So here's my thoughts on it. Put simply, I don't think we need to return after Meanwhile. The last episode. I don't think because again, it did close the loop very perfectly. I will say this: the inch I'm going to give it is that by definition of how Meanwhile ended, there is room to go back. I'm not saying we need to go back, but I'm just saying I see that it's not exactly like we're working to really go back in there. I'm saying
there's such a thing as leaving stuff up to the audience's imagination.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying it could be a lot worse in terms of just like we're bringing it back for the heck of bringing it back. We're at least when we're bringing it back, there's at least a window. Like, well, I mean, we are just we're kind of going back in time at the end of Meanwhile. So if we're just going to do more adventures in Futurama, there's definitely room for it, but we don't need it. Is the problem?
Mm-hmm. So I most likely won't be checking this out if I'm being honest with you.
Really, that far?
Yeah. Unless I hear that it's like super good, like it's like mind blowing, like better than Futurama's ever been. Like, yeah, sure, then I'll give it a chance. But if it's just kind of par for the course, like, yeah, it's about as good as the Comedy Central run was, then I'm pretty much going to skip it.
Okay.
But you know what I'm not going to skip?
No, you're not going to skip.
I mean, could you imagine if I did?
I would never forgive you if you
if it came back and I was like, Dragon, I got to tell you, I'm not feeling it.
I'm telling you like a bad habit. He's dead to me.
So yeah, Better Call Saul. This is actually kind of a surprise to me because we knew that part 1 and part 2, the season was going to be broken up into 2 parts. Dragon, what we did not know is that these 2 parts are coming pretty damn close to each other.
Was there that much of a delay with Breaking Bad? Like, did they delay it to like?
Oh yeah, Breaking Bad was a full fucking year. Oh yeah, full year of Hank sitting on that toilet.
I still say, if you could go back in time, the one change I'd make really in Breaking Bad outside of some Skylar stuff, but you know how I feel about that, would be like if we could have just added like if there was like a plop or something at the end. That's because if you're gonna have that reaction and you're gonna end there, it's like it's like the credits like come up like you hear a plop.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yes, so
needless to say, I'm stoked, but just the fact that we're getting the end by the end of 2022, I mean, oh my god, like that's almost surreal.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have just to share the date specifically is when we're going to be back in action talking about Better Call Saul. April 18th is when part 1 is, and then part 2 is going to be July 11th. So that's cool.
Now, how many episodes?
Well, I should also mention this too. I didn't tell you this. So it's going to premiere with 2 episodes. So it's 13 episodes total. So it's probably going to be like a 6 or 7 split between.
That makes sense. Yeah, probably like part 1 will be 7, part 2 will be 6.
All right. I'm trying to remember like if Breaking Bad's second half had more episodes than the first or not. Obviously, I don't have to do it the same way, but that's the thing.
8 and 8. I'm pretty sure I had 8 and 8.
Did it?
I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right about. I think the first half was 8, regardless. So yeah, it would have to be. It was 16 with Breaking Bad, right?
I'm pretty sure it was 8 and 8. Yeah.
If it was 16, then you're right. It's 8 and 8. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
well there we go. It's one of those things. Just the real question. That's going to be kind of a big determinant. Like, oh man, which one's going to have the extra episode? You'd imagine the back half because that's where all your big stuff's going to be.
Yeah, but at the same time, like in the back half, it's going to be a lot of payoff.
Yeah.
So I still not need as many episodes in the back half.
I mean, I still theorize part 1's going to be like we're getting the last of the accoutrements, and then we're going full link up and Gene stuff with the back half. So I'm saying like we're going to get the Office and the Cadillac in the first half,
right?
And QB. Which, by the way, I confirmed this. It was always speculated. I heard they confirmed it recently. QB absolutely was supposed to be in season 5, but Bill Burr, I believe, he had a passing in the family. That's why.
That sucks.
So that's why we had the guy from Grand Theft Auto. We had Sobachek. We had the guy that from Pimento. Remember the whole Mike laid him out. That guy. Anyway, all right. So that brings us to
Beetlejuice 2.
Yes.
Maybe it's actually going to happen this time, Dragon. Who knows?
You know what's funny? The reason this happens so many times is it's every time one of two things happens, the Beetlejuice 2 sequel talk swells and seems like it's going to happen. Either Michael Keaton gets a project like a Dope Sick, or this his appearance in Morbius, or Stranger Things comes back and has a release date finally. One of those things happens.
Wait. How did I not know that Michael Keaton was in the new Stranger Things?
Well, no, he's not. No, okay, I'm saying it's one of the two things. Either Keaton's doing something or Winona Ryder's doing something.
That's Winona Ryder. Okay, gotcha.
No,
okay, I'm
Keaton
sorry. I'm like,
not.
Wait, Michael Keaton's going to be in the new Stranger Things?
No.
Keaton
has two big things. He's got Morbius and the other much bigger thing. Well, Keaton has 3 movies coming out this year in terms of pop culture stuff that relates in our circles. He's got Morbius, which obviously ties in the Spider-Man thing, being the biggie. And he's going to be coming back as Batman for the Batgirl movie, which was announced for December of this year on HBO Max, and the Flash movie, which we're all dreading, with the exception of Keaton in that film.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, just to mention it, because I forgot to put in the revised draft here, let's talk about something musical for a bit here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did you have anything else you wanted to say with Beetlejuice, the sequel?
No, I mean, I hope it actually gets made. I hope Tim Burton does not direct it.
Really? You don't want, because of how he's been
No, fuck no. Get him the fuck away from it.
Well, yeah, they haven't announced Burton, so it's the implication to me is that Burton will not be coming back for this.
That's totally fine with me, Trey. That is totally fine. All right, I know his name is a total cliche nowadays for throwing director ideas out there, but Dragon, could you imagine a Guillermo del Toro Beetlejuice?
He would never do it, but I'd love to see it.
I know.
Bear in mind, I'd love to see Guillermo del Toro. I'd love to see Guillermo del Toro do anything. So, like the only way you would ever get me to see a Fast and the Furious movie is if del Toro directed it.
How the fuck would del Toro do a Fast and the Furious movie?
I have no idea, but I'd see it. That's what I'm saying. The only way I'd ever see one of those. Directed by Guillermo del Toro. Fast and the Furious. Faster.
God. I mean, it's like he did Pacific Rim, so it'd probably be in that del Toro wheelhouse.
That's what I'm saying. If you
the Pacific Rim Blade kind of wheelhouse.
Sure. Anyway, so John Williams. John Williams is... It turned 90. Turned 90 in February, and not only did he turn 90, reaching that milestone, he's coming back to do the score for the Obi-Wan show this year.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about this. I think that his work on the sequel trilogy has actually aged pretty well, to tell you the truth. I actually think the music has aged better than the movies themselves in some ways.
Sadly. Yeah, I mean, of course, Rey's big moment is a really good piece of score for for Force Awakens. Force Awakens, I think, has the best score in terms of the Williams score out of those 3 films. But yeah,
you know me, I really like Last Jedi.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, you're right. Last Jedi does have some really good score. Yeah, it does.
Oddly enough, Rose's theme is one of my favorites in The Last Jedi, even though she's a shit character.
I mean, for me, it's like when Luke stands up to all those, when he stand up to all that. That's some good score. All right.
Dragon. So something happened to me with Obi-Wan recently, where I saw this really awesome poster where it was like Obi-Wan kind of like standing with his back to the camera in a desert with his lightsaber out. And then there was this big cloud, and in the cloud there was a Star Destroyer, and then kind of the facial profile of Vader. And I was like, oh, that's such a good poster. Oh,
it was fan made though, wasn't it?
It's fan made. Yep.
Story of my life. I was
like, God damn it! Why can't real posters look that good? I was genuinely disappointed. I was geeking out over that poster. All right. But yeah, Obi-Wan right around the corner.
This May.
I just hope it's better than Book of Boba Fett.
Well, to be fair, again, the show we've been waiting for, the bases are kind of loaded with our...
I mean, we've been waiting for Obi-Wan ever since we thought it was going to be Obi-Wan, a Star Wars story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So That's what I'm saying. I think there's a lot more. I think this one has a better shot at things.
Oh, it does. I'm just saying, like, just get Robert Rodriguez the hell out of that set. That's all I'm saying.
Well, again, that's not his baby though. His baby was Boba Fett. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
he kind of locked in his baby. So,
Oh God.
all right. Okay, that brings us. Okay, so Peacock's got some stuff going on.
For the
Yes,
first time in the history of their streaming service.
This is so ironic because this news came out like right after we did our DreamWorks ride storming. So Peacock, I assume Peacock's because of the NBC of it all, and the how DreamWorks has been kind of like absorbed into
DreamWorks Universal. Is pretty much Universal now.
I know, which is really weird how that whole thing.
And it's also depressing that DreamWorks and Illumination are owned by the same people.
Yeah, that's the thing, and the fact that there's some crossover there. Last I heard, that Shrek reboot is going to be directed by the Illumination.
Oh man! I do not want a fucking Illumination Shrek, dude.
Well, you're gonna. Well, assuming they didn't smarten up on that, they're gonna get it. So, regardless, so they announced they're gonna do.
Hey, let's do Shrek with the inferior studio.
All right. Anyway, so they announced that they're doing some animated series that are going to follow up a few DreamWorks films, and I'm going to assume they're testing the waters with kind of some franchise revivability. And so they announced Abominable, which is like, for the kiddies. All right.
Abominable, I'm just like, why? Like that feels like a very like obligatory, like, okay, it was the last DreamWorks movie that made a dent in.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even do well. It just kind of made a dent. It was like a blip on the radar of pop culture.
Sure. Which, again, that's small potatoes. But what the big thing, though, that I'm excited about, the serendipity of it all, man. I've been asking for this for years. And it's finally happening. I only hope it's going to be done well. We're getting a Megamind show. Yeah!
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as big on Megamind as most people are. I think it's really, really good. I just I don't quite see it as like the masterpiece of DreamWorks animation like most people do. But I think it's a really solid film, and obviously I think there's a lot of room for expansion there with the story. So
yep, which our series might lend itself to finally. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although I will say Megamind plays a lot better on a rewatch as an adult. Like, it's one of those movies that does get better with age.
Sure. So the fact that we're revisiting it, the only thing I'm worried about with this Megamind show is just if we're going to get like the voice cast back or how good a sound alike we're going to get if we're doing.
Oh, you better get Will Ferrell, motherfucker.
I'm just hoping I hope Peacock's going to be smart and get Will Ferrell back on that. I really do.
Like, I don't care about anyone else. You can do impressions for everyone else, but Will Ferrell is like you can't just do a Will Ferrell impression. That's just not going to work.
I mean, we'll see. All I know is, Will
Ferrell did a voice of the Oblong, so he is, technically has experience in TV animation.
Well, no, I know he's done voice work before. That was before his career really took off. Though.
Yeah.
So the big question is, then DreamWorks, some of their animated shows have done good sound-alikes before. Now, I was always worried, like with this dream of like Megamind getting the show, I was like, yeah, but you really need to hit that comedy and that performance that we got from Megamind, though. So you either need like the best sound-alike possible, or you need ideally Will Ferrell. So we'll. David Cross should be easy enough to get because David Cross doesn't really do that much.
Yeah, I imagine David Gray. I think it's Brad Pitt. They're going to have to recast. There's no way he's.
Yeah, but he's probably going to have a diminished role anyway, so it doesn't really
matter. Yeah.
Big question would be
like he did in the movie.
Yeah.
That's my one hang up with the movie still, Dragon. I know we've talked about this, but it all comes down to the trailer. The trailer was promising me Megamind versus Metro Man, the movie, and that was definitively not what the movie was.
But yeah, that movie was generic though. We got something so much better.
No, you're right. But I'm just saying, when I was watching that movie, I was like, "Where's Metro Man?"
Metro Man. All right, so
I want to see Brad Pitt.
So speaking of old friends,
yes. Oh, speaking of Brad Pitt, I think we forgot to mention this, but his production company is the one that's supposedly doing Beetlejuice 2 Electric Boogaloo.
They've announced. Oh, you know what you know this story? Yeah, one of the pitches for Beetlejuice 2 over the years.
Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian.
Yes,
Yeah.
Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. It'd be hysterical if they stuck with that.
Oh my god, I'd love that. I would fucking love that. I would eat it up.
Can you imagine if this is not going to happen, folks? So don't get imagine this. Imagine if Kevin Smith actually directs Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. That's the sequel. That's because they haven't announced the director.
I would. Oh my god.
Kevin Smith.
I feel like in today's movie landscape, like weirder wish fulfillment shit has happened.
You know what's funny? Kevin Smith is working on something he can't talk about right now. So.
Oh man, could you imagine?
Just saying.
He would not be my first choice for a Beetlejuice. I'm going to throw that out there just from a visual point.
Well, of course not. I'm just saying if Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian.
Like, I love you, Kevin, but you know.
No, I hear that. I'm just saying if it were
Big
Beetlejuice
Moose
Goes
Jaws,
Hawaiian.
Kevin. That's what I really want from Kevin Smith.
Well, we got to see Clerks 3, though. That one's been
I know, like, honestly, Dragon, I'm more stoked for Moose Jaws than I am Clerks 3, if I'm being totally honest. Moose Jaws has sold me from the premise alone.
Remind me, did you ever get around to seeing Yoga Hosers or no?
No, I have not.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the sequel. Moose Jaws is like the third in that trilogy. So you should see
I'm aware. I still will probably never see Yoga Hosers.
Aw. It's not as bad as everyone says, Tiki.
You know what? You know what's putting me off of Yoga Hosers is the Johnny Depp thing.
Well, what about the? Oh,
not even because he's like a controversial figure or whatever. Just because I hated his character in Tusk.
Well, trust me, he's not. He's not really like in your face in the movie. It's more about the girls.
That's good because in Tusk, I really just like. He really like Tusk would have been such a better movie if he was just not in it.
He gets like 2 or 3 scenes. I think that's about it. So I think that's anyway.
That one scene in Tusk where it's like a flashback to him going to interview that one guy. Oh my god.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so but the big thing though, Austin Butler, he got one of his big. He got kind of got his big break in Yoga Hosers too.
Austin Butler, that name sounds familiar.
Well, it should be familiar, Tiki. He's going to be in a movie we're going to talk about momentarily.
Okay.
Okay, so all right, let's see. So where should we go next? Oh yeah, so old friends reuniting yet again. Tiki, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. We don't know anything about the story, but it doesn't really matter. Robert Downey Jr. and Shane Black reuniting. Dragon, I can totally I'm totally willing to just pretend that Predators or The Predator or whatever the hell that Shane Black one was called, just did not happen because Shane Black outside of that has like one of the best track records in Hollywood right now. And obviously Robert Downey Jr. has been a focal point of 2 of his better movies. So yeah, I'm more than stoked about this. Once we know more, it has potential to be like in my most anticipated for whatever year it comes out.
You know what I'm surprised by? I'm surprised that Shane Black, because he always wrote these movies. I'm amazed that when they were they're making a Lethal Weapon 5, or at least I don't know how far in production they are on that, but they're making Lethal Weapon 5 obviously without Richard Donner, and Mel Gibson has stepped up to direct that, out of respect for him.
Oh, now, that's interesting. That's an interesting call. All right.
Well, I'm just saying Mel Gibson, he's actually a really good director on things, so
I am not a fan of his directing style.
Well, you never saw Hacksaw Ridge, did you? Did you?
No, that's true. I haven't, but like Hacksaw Ridge, from what I know, just kind of continues the whole like super gratuitous violence thing that he does.
I don't know. I don't want to spell out how good Andrew Garfield is in that movie.
No, I'm sure Garfield's great. I'm sure he's great. I have no doubt about that. I'm just saying Mel Gibson is a sadist, man. Like when it comes to him fucking putting violence on screen, he does it like. I mean, as a horror fan, I should appreciate it, but there's just something about the way he does it that's just icky to me.
All right, my point is, you'd think the guy who's been there through all the films as well in the writing capacity, who is also known to be a director who directs in a very Lethal Weapon-y style, would be the guy.
He's also known for something else.
Well, sure.
I have Jewish friends, so I've just got to call it out,
All right, fine.
I have actual stakes in it now.
Okay, my point is, you'd think the guy who brings kind of a bit of a Lethal Weapon style, and he's written all the movies, would be directing a Lethal Weapon 5. You'd think, right? Anyway,
yeah,
so
that's true. Shane Black would be a much better choice than Mel Gibson. Be sure.
Anywho, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be shocked if Shane Black is not at least writing Lethal Weapon 5. It's going to be sacrilege because he's written all the other ones.
Yeah.
Anywho, yes, but yeah, I mean, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was like in Iron Man 3, really solid, Shane Black collaborations, more so on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. But yeah, it was.
Iron Man 3 is still, like, I haven't done an MCU ranking in a while, but it still might be in my top 10.
I mean, regardless, I'm just saying Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was really great, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Outside of a certain dismemberment scene that freaks me out still this day. I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I mean, I can't watch that scene, but outside of that, it's...
All right.
Anywho. All right, so, okay, we're going to go away from that. And, oh, yes, some really fantastic...
Yeah, tell me about this. I know next to nothing about it.
This news got even better for me today when I did a little extra digging on it. So, Skydance Animation is making Brad Bird's Ray Gunn film. Now, way before Iron Giant, Brad Bird had been trying to make his big break into feature animation, and he had basically pitched studios on these films, and he had two in the works right before Iron Giant. It was Ray Gunn, which he had pitched, and essentially the studio I think a studio held the rights to it, so he couldn't take it with him. And then there was the Spirit film, again, hence our runner with Brad Bird directing a black and white detective film.
Yes.
So Tiki, this essentially is a sci-fi detective. It's a noir film. So I don't know if they're going to go full black and white with it, but it's going to be an animated detective movie and with a kind of a Blade Runner-y sci-fi setting.
Hmm.
So this is big, and this had really good I don't know if the script was ever made available or not, but Brad Bird, he kind of put this out there, had really good kind of concept art for it. Yeah. I mean, Ray Gunn is like a cool sci-fi detective noir name, being the gay. Gunn spelled like James Gunn.
Right.
Anyway, so the big thing here. So again, Skydance is doing this. It's the fact that it's finally being made. Again, Brad Brothers. I doubt it's going to be made in 2D like it originally was pitched to be. That'd be cool though. I gotta look into what Skydance.
Can you imagine another Brad Bird 2D movie? Jesus Christ.
But here's the thing, though. I know Skydance released a film. They've already released the film. I don't know if that film was made in 2D or not. Because if it was made in 2D, then chances are feasible. Here's the big thing, though. Skydance is going to reunite him with John Lasseter because John Lasseter's heading up Skydance right now. So that's going to be kind of cool too. And I like that as an idea of like, hey, Lasseter is he's kind of reuniting with his buddies and kind of doing some animation wish fulfillment. It seems like, hey, you wanted to make this movie back then, let's do it now.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you the one fear I do have with Skydance, though. Their first film was released on Apple Plus.
Oh no! Oh, here we go.
So,
Dragon, looks like we're gonna have to pirate it because it's literally the only way that people who don't own Apple devices can watch those movies.
They brought it on themselves.
They did. I have no guilt in that situation.
I just hope it does. I hope it gets a proper release that is not Apple.
We'll talk about that with Coda, Dragon.
But anyway, so regardless, though, I mean, this is Brad Bird back doing kind of like again that Brad Bird detective film. That's pretty cool, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited for it for sure.
All right, cool. Yeah, again, so yeah, I mean, I remember
I kind of wish it was happening at Pixar, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a fair point. Now I'm just thinking about that now. Like, oh man, why isn't it Pixar? Man?
No, it's fine, Dragon. It's fine. I mean, I'm sure Brad Bird is just such a talent. I mean, when I think about it, the last Pixar movie he did was Incredibles 2, so maybe it's better that
Come on, why do you?
Incredibles 2 is incredibly underwhelming. All right. And moving on, next item. Marvel Netflix, Disney Plus, adding a parental control block so it can put literally all of the Marvel Netflix shows on March 6th. So, Dragon, we only have to wait a week.
I'm sorry about that. I just realized something.
What?
It's March 16th.
Oh, shit. Okay. So we're going to have to wait a couple weeks.
Yes. So
that's okay. It's not the doom and gloom fucking limbo that we thought we were in.
Yeah, that's the thing, folks. It's just I still hate how this news came about. Just the fact they had to make us sweat and everything about, hey, are we don't know where it's going. Let's just leave a Netflix.
Yeah,
But then
if they would have
literally,
just announced it with like, "Don't worry, it's coming to Disney Plus in a couple weeks. It's all good," then I think it would have been a lot less dramatic.
who doesn't like a little security? Okay, why can't we just assuage the fears and like say, hey guys, don't cry, smile because it's coming to Disney Plus. Like, come on,
Dragon,
why
I would
can't we?
like to see. I would like to be a fly on the wall for the extended meetings that happened at Disney about them fucking dragging their feet about like, I don't know, should we do parental controls?
It's like, hey, let's literally do what we're doing overseas, but bring it to the stateside. You
Right.
know, let's just
I don't get why it took that long. I'm honestly kind of fascinated what the
now.
reasoning is there.
I do have a theory actually as to why at least the Marvel Netflix of it all happened the way it did. I have a theory as to what happened.
I'm
This
pretty
is
sure it
not
was a contract thing, right?
I mean, if it were a contract, they could have done it a lot earlier though, too, because the contracts didn't run out just now; they ran out a little while ago.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, then
I
it's
don't
not
know
a
how
contract
early, but at
thing.
the very least this year, I
It's
know
a
it was definitely.
Chapek thing.
No, well, here's the thing. So, in regards to the Marvel Netflix at all, I theorize. I think it's a question. Were they waiting until after Hawkeye and No Way Home came out to like facilitate? Like, yeah, we're starting the process of bringing the Netflix heroes in. So
Uh-huh.
now that they're
Uh-huh.
in, people are going
That
to be
makes
curious.
sense.
People are going to be curious about them and like, okay, well, I guess we're going to go to the competition. Wait. Don't do that again. They dragged their feet on, so it really defeated the purpose of that thought. But just the fact is that it happened. Like, hey, folks, don't worry, we got you covered. It's all here. Just be wary of the kiddies, but it's all here. And if the kiddies want in, they don't have to wait long because Matt Murdock's going to show up in She-Hulk. We got an Echo show on the horizon. Maybe a little Jessica Jones if we're lucky. You know, but
Mhm.
anyway. And again, it's still right now. It's just a question of 50-50 shot of are we full on including Netflix or just going the multiversal angle, which may present more opportunities for like maybe
I absolutely we talked about this last
yeah.
night with our Jessica Jones podcast, but I absolutely think the multiverse thing is the way to go.
Which again, I say we won't know one way or another until we address what the heck happened to Vanessa.
Yeah.
Where's my Vanessa?
Oh
Anyway.
God. All right.
Okay, let's see. So that oh yes, then we have lastly we have a trailer to talk about.
Yeah, a trailer where one of the most prominent things is like, hey, look, Tom Hanks playing a bad guy.
Yes, yes. So we're talking the Baz Luhrmann Elvis film.
Yeah, so I am actually kind of pretty stoked for this. It was pretty high up in my most anticipated of the year, and this trailer did like nothing to dissuade me from that. I really think that Baz Luhrmann is a perfect choice to direct this. I love that he went with a total unknown to play Elvis. I think that really works. It really makes you feel like it's actually him and not like an actor like, oh, okay, that's so and so playing Elvis. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it really grounds it.
So the kid from Yoga Hosers I was talking about, that's him, Austin Butler. He was like he had like a bit part in Yoga Hosers, and he's playing young Elvis in this. Well, he's playing Elvis in this film.
Okay.
And he was one of the guys from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was Tex, the guy who got Tex. That's a stupid name. That was much dumber than that. He threw the can.
I actually like remember him a lot more from that.
So that's him. So it's the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you what to tell you the scene I'm most looking forward to, and they kind of showed a quick glimpse of it. I don't know if it's going to be part of a montage or if they're going to show the full thing or not. But they showed a brief bit of Elvis's '68 comeback special.
Uh-huh.
See, I'm looking forward to the whole "If I Can Dream" song because that's one of Elvis's best moments. Anyway, yeah, I'll tell you what really impressed me. I don't know if you caught this. I know this because Kevin Smith went to Graceland recently. He was sharing all sorts of Elvis facts
Oh,
about
really?
how Elvis was
That's
really
funny.
big. Elvis was really big into the comics, hence the cape that he had on his famous white jumpsuit,
Uh-huh.
and the superhero that he loved most, that he modeled himself after, that they showed even in this trailer briefly, Captain Marvel. No, I'm not talking Carol Danvers. I'm talking the real Captain Marvel. You know, the one with the lightning bolt. So yeah, Elvis's whole like half.
You know what
cape
else
thing.
Elvis was really into, Dragon?
Oh,
Roller coasters.
really?
Yeah, he was a big roller coaster fan.
Cool. Oh, well, I guess that's true. Also, yeah, I think if memory serves, I heard this too. I heard Elvis saw Star Wars like right before the end.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
would be a trippy thing to include in the movie, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a thing too. I mean, what we really the vibe I'm getting from this, and I'm really hoping for, is so often we do this to death. I think we have a chance to do it right for a change, because I think we're overdue for a good cradle to grave story, which I think we can
This
do here.
feels like a more artistically ambitious version of Rocket Man,
Yeah,
which was already pretty artistically ambitious.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Do you think we're going to go cradle to grave? Because like it just seems like we're going to go there somehow. I don't know if it's going to be a
Yeah, I have a feeling, knowing Baz Luhrmann, I have a feeling it might be broken up into different time periods or different framing devices. He always has it, like he's always one of those directors that plays around with framing. So I have a feeling it's going to be like maybe like two different timelines or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, however they do it, I think the key component in the storytelling, just based on this trailer, is going to be, I think Colonel Tom Parker is going to be kind of our link in the chain here throughout the thing. Just seeing
Sure.
how this guy kind of goes from like, I'm going to make this kid big to he's evil, he's the emperor in the end. You know, it's kind of something like
Right,
that.
right, right.
Oh god, I mean, Tom Hanks looking so jowly and menacing. All right, all right, that's it for the news.
All right. Let's get to the movies.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Uncharted. I have not heard good things.
So Uncharted. So I have no skin in the game. Game. I have no skin in the game with Uncharted personally. All I know about Uncharted I can count on one hand. Again, I know Nolan North plays the Nathan Drake character, and I've of course that's on my barometer because Nolan North plays Deadpool in the games, and Hulk versus Wolverine and such. So he's like the animation equivalent for Deadpool. As Ryan Reynolds is the Deadpool. And I saw a fan film that was kind of a proof. I think I showed this to you at some point. A little proof of concept fan film for Uncharted, with like full on Uncharted. Like you had Nathan
Oh yeah,
Fillion
the
and
Nathan Fillion one. Yeah, like everyone's seen that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion and God, the guy for Stephen Lang
Uh,
as Sully, which I really liked. And again, this
I
the
mean,
bear
that's two casting choices where it actually feels like the characters.
precisely. So I saw the movie with a buddy of mine. Now my buddy, big Uncharted fan. So that was my barometer going into it. I got a really good litmus test for the movie by proxy of my buddy here. I had really audible reactions during the film, and then afterwards he
Uh-huh.
told me all about it. So essentially, from what he told me and from what I understand, the movie is essentially the fourth game with some prequely elements to what would predate the first film. The first game, I mean. So
Yeah,
basically, what
that's what I
happened.
heard because I know that the fourth game involves his brother who doesn't come into the story until then, and this involves his brother.
Yeah, essentially, from I'll tell you this much: they basically, from what my buddy kind of gave me a reaction was, just from what I saw in the film, it seems that yeah, they botched the whole brother thing. It seems they
Uh-huh.
basically spent the whole movie of setup for a brother story, So that was so unfortunate for. Like I say, I think the diehard Uncharted fans very unhappy with this film. That's kind of the sense I got. I just again I took basically this broadly the Uncharted brand. I thought the movie was kind of doomed just given the whole prequely element versus let's just do it straight on. Like let's not cast the young buck Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. Let's just do Nathan Drake. Whoever you're gonna cast for that.
Right, right.
I mean, it's a fun treasure hunt action film, which I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't really feel strongly about one way or another. I mean, I like Holland and Wahlberg. I think they had good chemistry together. And from what I understand, my buddy who was the Uncharted fan. He said it was nice seeing how they met each other, which was like never seen in the games, which was alluded to. So that was like the best scene in the film, apparently. And that was some good stuff between them. So again, it's yeah, it was a good time. My buddy completely. It seems to me for the Uncharted fans particularly, if you gave this film any chance, the third act is going to completely take you out of it. And the third act was like it was the absolute deal
I've heard
breaker.
about what the climax is, and it sounds pretty ridiculous.
Because I was so disinvested, and I was just like taking very superficial things from the film. I was like, okay, well, that's broad, but I don't really
Right,
know what I
right.
should. Like, I assume this is maybe fair in the games, which apparently it's not. So, so it felt like they doubled down the video game element, which they did, but maybe a little too much.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's Yeah, you know, it's, I guess, complicated in the grand scheme of things. It feels very much like Sony was looking for a new franchise in some way to hold on to Tom Holland for dear life if he's wavering from
That's
Spider-Man.
exactly what it feels like.
And it's unfortunate because it just feels like, hey, you know, we're focusing on franchisability versus just making like no one's thinking these days about these films as a film before it's a franchise. It's like, hey, let's focus on making a great Uncharted film. As in, we have one shot at this. Let's make it count. It's like, no, we have plenty of shots at this. You know,
Yep.
we'll be fine if this thing tanks. We'll do another one and another one, and so on until this Holland kid's in his 50s.
And unfortunately, it's doing really well in the box office, which means like quality. What's quality?
Now, there's one last thing I want to say about it. So there was a director swap on this film, and I wonder how much the director swap impacted the final result. I really do. Originally, they had Travis Knight on for this, and Travis Knight's done one really good film and one okay film. He did Kubo, which was great. Kubo and the Two
Of course.
Strings. He also did Bumblebee, which is good. You know, could be better, but he was good. And instead, Ruben Fleischer, the guy who did Venom, but also did Zombieland, which is great. So, you know, fun.
And also really 30 minutes or less, which was kind of a train wreck.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying. So I think kind of speaks for itself. You know, it's a mixed bag. All right.
He is a very mixed bag director for sure. I honestly, with Ruben Fleischer, I would be surprised if anything captured the lightning in the bottle magic that was Zombieland.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame, but like that movie is just so stylized, and he is just not getting movies that lend itself to that kind of style.
I mean, you also got to remember, it's not just Fleischer; it's really the writers. You had Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who really made that for the Deadpool writers. They made that film sick. So yeah, sure. That's the key factor in that. All right.
Okay, Jackass.
Forever.
This is Cinema Dragon, and I say that not because it's like an incredibly well-made movie with like deep layers of philosophical musings and outstanding cinematography. No, it's cinema for the pure like entertainment of it all, Dragon. This is one of the most purely like wall-to-wall entertaining movies I may have ever seen.
It's a bear eating honey and salmon off a guy.
It's not art, but it is cinema, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't know, Dragon. I feel like this might be the best of the Jackass movies. It really might be. I think they really hit the formula well here. They actually do bring in some new people, some fresh blood, so that Knoxville and company aren't the only ones taking a beating. And surprisingly, I think the fresh blood kind of like really naturally works into the movie. I think you get to know them right away. You know, they all have their quirks. They all have a good dynamic with the original crew. And these stunts are just like wildly creative. And there are like Dragon. I saw this opening night, and I will tell you, it was one of the like, oh man, the in-theater reactions, Dragon. The in-theater reactions. I mean, it was heavenly when it came to that. I mean, it was just such a visceral, like, oh man, like everyone in the theater, like it was such a community experience, you know? It might have been a better community experience than No Way Home. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, come on.
I'm not kidding. I'm really not. Because No Way Home was basically like, you know, like there were a few times when the audience went nuts when the cameos not the cameos, but when the big names came up, there were the claps. I clapped because I know who that is.
Oh, did you hear that heartbreaking thing with Charlie Cox? Did you hear about that?
Oh, God, no.
Charlie Cox, they snuck into the theater during No Way Home, and
I don't know
how this happens. Like during they picked like the one theater, I guess. Like they played. No reaction to him when he popped up on screen. I was like, Charlie, why didn't you come to my theater?
Charlie, I can assure you that the two times I saw it in theaters, there was a big reaction for you, man.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Poor Charlie Cox. It's like, no, everyone loved you when you showed up.
Right.
You were the first big moment.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was. Anyway, yeah. So, but yeah,
I mean, Drake, this isn't like Endgame levels of theater hype. to be sure, because literally like the last half hour of Endgame is just like, oh my god, everyone is on a fucking massive high.
Yeah, you don't see Knoxville catching a hammer.
You see him like doing other things that are very dangerous.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I just top to bottom, man, the audience reaction like through the whole movie was just so potent, and it made it such a memorable theater experience for me. I would say it might be one of my top 10 theater experiences I've ever had. Just because like it came out in a time where it's like we're God willing, we're just like in the kind of like in the twilight of COVID, God fucking willing, please. So, it very much felt like a real return to form for the movie theater experience, if that makes sense. And it was just damn funny from beginning to end, and all the sketches were creative. I don't think there was a single sketch that like did not land. I will say that I think the final sketch was a little underwhelming, especially compared to some of the other movies. But
End on the bear?
yeah, it's a banger. And I know for someone like you who has a hard time with like body parts and shit, like yeah, don't see this ever.
Did they end on the bear?
No.
Okay.
And honestly, I think they could have.
Yeah. I mean, misconception with people in these bear stunts is that bears aren't necessarily they're sugar junkies. They're not really like people eaters. So that whole thing.
Oh, it was still intense though, Dragon. Make no mistake, it was still intense.
Oh, I have no doubt. I mean, you see a bear covered in honey and salmon. That's not going to be like.
And with the bear thing, it's one of those things like you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I know that is not CG. That is a real ass bear right in front of that guy's face.
Yep.
All right.
A bear walks up to you and you ask, so listen, man, is it Berenstein or Berenstein?
Oh no, God. All right.
Okay. All right. Okay, that brings us to Catwoman Hunted.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the anime Catwoman film they released as a direct to video. This is this is the big thing with this film. I think got a lot of people excited, myself included, was this had a really good writer on it, Greg Weisman. Now, Greg Weisman is the guy behind Young Justice, Gargoyles, and Spectacular Spider-Man. So like top tier animation writer, just the best. And apparently, I had no idea about this, and it had no really impact on the movie. So it's kind of like a pointless like reveal to me because I don't think they did a good job at it in terms of this detail that they're saying it's like set in Young Justice, just adjacent to like the Young Justice stuff. Like they never showed Catwoman and Young Justice, so apparently they're saying it's in the same universe. I see no correlation at all, so kind of pointless. But it doesn't factor in anything here. The point being, this film, if you read it simplistically, it's a nice tribute to Catwoman. The seductive master thief in action that she is. The anime flourish looks really good on her. Basically she's stealing an emerald, which leads to a lot of bad guys chasing her down. One of those bad guys being the wonderful Jonathan Banks playing Black Mask, which he's really good at, by the way. He's a really good Black Mask. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like the big bad guy of the piece, and the really kind of simple idea is like, it's Catwoman versus Cheetah. She stole Cheetah's diamond, and they actually have a really good take on Cheetah here. They really do. It's I know one that you'd really love. It's there's really like a Cowboy Bebop flair to this Catwoman film.
I mean, it'd be hard to do Cheetah any worse than they already did.
All right. My point being, I think this way, I can't strongly recommend this to you, but I'd say if it came to HBO Max, and assuming things were sorted out in a future point in time with HBO Max, I would say, check it out for the banks of it all, man.
Honestly, with HBO Max, I just kind of think that I need to find someone to bum off their account.
Okay, well, if by somehow the stars align on that, I'd say if it eventually it will come to HBO Max, check it out.
All right.
You got Stephanie Beatrice as Batwoman. Again, like the only one of the few times I've ever seen a Batwoman that I've liked. So like,
and of course, that's coming off of Encanto, so that's definitely
yeah. There you There you go. Again, not mind. Again, the movie's not mind blowing, not mind bending, but it's like, okay, this is kind of like the cell of Catwoman. It's fun.
So it's not like a Long Halloween Part One. I'm not going to have
no.
This is a movie.
No, nowhere near as good as that. It's not in that line or anything, so don't worry about it. It's just sort of like, it's like, again, it was. I'll admit, like, some gags got a little repetitive. But it's a simple story, It's just like we're chasing after the diamond, and Catwoman's trying to pull one over on people. That's how it goes, and it's
Cool.
just it's kind of a fun Cowboy Bebop slant on Catwoman. That's the best way I can sum it up.
Okay. All right, let's see. So I saw the one, the only, the masterpiece, the epic tome of our time, Dragon. Tall Girl 2.
Now, let me ask you one question, buddy.
Oh, God.
Was it the Godfather Part Two of the Tall Girl franchise?
No, it was not. This was a lot more boring than the original. I'm not even gonna lie. I think this is a case of like, I like the people that like the original genuinely like it, like I do, on a so bad it's good kind of level. I don't know a ton of people that are like, yeah, Tall Girl, that's just like me,
Yeah, Honey Woman's in the corner saying, I love this movie.
Right. It's like, yeah, it's just like, unfortunately, this is much more of just a standard kind of like teen romantic comedy. The whole gimmick that she's tall doesn't even really come up that much, whereas in the first one, it's like a fucking big cataclysmic, like, end of the world deal. And that kind of is where a lot of the comedy comes from. Yeah, this is just kind of like a stereotypical kind of love triangle sort of movie. I do like that there's a taller girl. I actually think this movie could have just been called Taller Girl.
Or The Too Tall Girl.
The Too Tall. What about just
She's
too tall?
Yes, too tall. or like too tall, ... girls, and you're too tall, girl.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this one, Dragon. It really lacks the magic of the original, and by magic, I mean complete, like, so bad it's good mayhem.
Can you remind me, in the first Tall Girl movie, did she meet a tall guy?
Yes. Oh, yeah, she did.
I have one question about this tall gentleman, Tiki. I have one question.
Oh, God.
Was his name Paul?
No. No, it was not.
Such a missed opportunity. There's Tall Paul and everything.
Tall Paul.
Tall Paul.
And then in the sequel, the tall guy's sister is the taller girl.
Such a
it's really bad. And it's not bad in a fun way. It's just kind of boring.
You know what they're going to call the third one, don't you?
What?
Tall Tales.
Oh, man. All right. That kind of more feels like the fourth or fifth movie once they're desperate, and it's kind of like an anthology.
You're right.
But they can't even get the original tall girl back. It's just like, hey, kids, here's a bunch of other tall girls.
Yep. And then you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna find a little person and like one of the songs they're really accentuated. Like, okay, we can't physically make her any taller, but you know what we can do? Yeah.
And by the way, Netflix, I'm still waiting for The Nights Before Christmas.
That's the one we actually do need. No
joking.
Yeah, no joking. We do need that.
I will eat that the hell up the second it comes out.
I found the magic bean.
Oh, God. All right.
Seriously, such a darn earnest and charming movie.
It is. It really is. It was my comfort movie for a minute.
Yeah, it is. It's a cozy movie.
Anyway.
All right. Anyway, look at him drink that mead. All right. So let me tell you about Downfall. Downfall: The Case Against Boeing. Yeah, this was good. I mean, I'm not salivating over, but it was good, man. It was. This was again Netflix. I think they were starting to regain some documentary film track, and it's been
because they're actually starting to do films again.
Yeah. This is So it has a great premise. It's about the Boeing 737 crashes that happened, I believe, in 2019. There's at least two crashes that happened, and there was kind of a conspiracy that developed. Where basically, the safe, basically the safest airplanes, like the safest airplane manufacturer and airplane company, suddenly all these planes are suddenly going down because the company was cutting cost on their safety procedures and their manufacturing protocols, and just kind of then basically they're covering their tracks in a real shady way. That's essentially what the film is.
Uh-huh.
It's good stuff. The only thing I can say against it really is that it's shorter than it feels it should, because I was really captivated by it, and like by the time it's like we're starting to rake things up, it's like, and then we're wrapping up. Like, wait, what? No, I was all into it. Don't end it now. No credits. No text on the screen yet.
So
No,
it's not the Kevin Smith thing.
no, it's not the Kevin Smith thing. No.
Oh, all right.
All right.
So let's see. The Cursed. Oh yes. Oh yes. This is a movie like I literally the only reason I even bothered to go see it is because Chris Stuckman, he didn't give it like a hard recommendation. He gave it a recommendation based on the fact that like it's a first time director doing a studio horror film that's like really ballsy with a period piece setting and everything. And so Stuckman basically did he basically pleaded the whole like support independent artists kind of plea. And I was like, you know what? It's playing in my theater. I will. And this is good. It's basically a very, very, very subtle, slow burn werewolf movie that kind of deconstructs the werewolf mythos. It's set in World War I times, I believe. So like early 1900s in the British countryside. A lot of it takes place in this old British manor in the middle of the woods. It's very claustrophobic in that regard. As a period piece, it does feature a lot of like immersive set design and costuming and everything. So that's all very impressive. And there's a sequence towards the beginning. I'm not going to spell out exactly what happens because it's actually kind of brutal. But the camera just literally just kind of lingers on it and just lets the whole thing play out. And it feels like you're on the top of a hill watching some fucked up atrocity take place from the bottom of a hill, and there's like nothing you can do to stop it. And Dragon, that was fucking visceral. Like when that happened early in the movie, I was like, oh shit, okay. Like, Dragon, I'm sorry, but I had this is a movie moment.
Oy.
And then the film in the second act has like, I'm not even kidding, Dragon, like 7 or 8 different dream sequences.
Huh.
And I'm just like, what are you doing, movie? What are you doing? You had such a good you had such a good lead in. God damn it. Why are you doing this? Very much the case of like an amateur filmmaker who has a lot of talent, but who has not figured out like how to edit yet. But the movie does wrap back around because I will say it has a twist in the finale that was very satisfying and also kind of like recontextualized the whole movie. And there's also kind of like a cool framing device where the first scene is actually kind of a flash forward, and then you kind of like spend the whole movie kind of building back up to that flash forward. So, yeah, honestly, if you cut out like most of the dream sequences, then this movie probably would have been closer to 90 minutes than 2 hours, and it would have probably played a lot better. But as it stands now, if you're a fan of gothic horror, like A24 type horror, I would recommend this. This definitely feels like an A24 horror film, to be sure. So if you're a fan of something like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be as good as an Ari Aster movie, not by a long shot, not even close. But I would say it's comparable to something like It Comes at Night or something like that. Just an overall well made gothic horror movie that has some very definite pacing and story issues. And that's it.
Okay. Well, that brings us to something we both saw, which again, you see how it's structured here. I kind of built the something we both saw this time. The Tinder Swindler.
Yeah, I really, really like this a lot, Dragon.
Yeah, for me,
This kind of captured me. Like it kind of drew my attention right away.
I was worried about it at first, because for me it was a bit of a. I thought this was good, but it was a slow build till the good stuff really started to really pick up the heat and the
The good
momentum.
stuff started to pick up, man. It really started to pick up.
It did, right? But was it a slow build for you too at first? Was it like, okay,
Uh,
no?
you maybe a little bit when we're going over like the first relationship, and I'm like, because I pretty much knew where it was going. I pretty much knew that, we were going to get like, okay, and then we're going to see another woman who has the exact same type of story and another one. So yeah, it was a little bit of a slow build. Yeah, it was. It was.
I mean,
But
for
I feel like
me,
that slow build was important though, because it really establishes the guy's MO.
yeah. I mean, for me, it was. I remember I talked about this last memoirs we did. I had that really disappointing docu series called The
Mhm.
Puppet Master. Like this con man story, and
I keep seeing that on Netflix, and every time I see it, I'm just like, Dragon says it's disappointing.
it is. Trust me. This is the better version of that. That's essentially what this is.
And I don't know if this was made by the exact same people, but I know it was made by the same production company as Don't F with
Yeah, it
Cats.
was. It was the same production company that Don't F with Cats. Yeah.
And I gotta say, Dragon, just on the basis that Don't F with Cats can be a rough watch because of the animal abuse, I think this is much more palatable. Like, I think this is really good.
I mean, look, this is good. I would not say it's better than Don't F with Cats, but it is good.
I think Don't F with Cats is probably more compelling, but I would go
Yeah,
back and watch this more.
fair enough.
All right.
Yeah, so it's yeah, I'll admit though, I did have a degree of this is a little bit of like the rich get richer kind of story for a bit of it. Just seeing just the volume of money these women got bilked out of, like, really took you that long to realize what was going wrong here, just in terms of the sheer
I
volume of
think
how
they
much
do a
they.
good job of explaining the mindset and explaining how the dude kind of like was very slow and insidious.
I mean, for me, where they really sold me on the whole Simon, our Israeli philanderer guy here, when he those imposing voice messages that he left, and you just see him all piling up and how intimidating he's getting and everything like that. You see, like, then they confront him with the lies and everything. Like that was good. That's where I'm again. I think a sympathy built in there for him, but at first I'm kind of rolling my eyes like. Really, they're not seeing like this the sheer volume of I'm going to lend this guy this much cash, and the fact that, man, what kind of women have this much cash? What kind of people have this much cash? And just period. I don't know. That was kind of a disconnect for me that I then got over as the film went on.
Yeah, I kind of hear what you're saying there. It almost feels like they're all influencers and they don't
Yeah,
really say that.
yeah. It's like somehow like, I mean, it's like $10 million at the end of the day collectively between these two people. It's like,
Yeah.
really? It's like I'm supposed to feel
It's like
sympathy for.
if $1,000 was gone from my bank account,
Yeah.
that would be fucked.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
$1,000. Hell, if $100 was gone from my bank account, I would
see,
not.
that's sympathetic. Isn't okay? $1,000 from the average Joe's bank account, but you're telling me like $10 million?
Yeah, I hear you.
It's like, anyway, yeah. It's so again, it's so again, there's
I
definitely
have had $100 disappear from my bank account before, just because of like subscription services that I've forgotten to cancel and shit like that.
not exactly a philanderer kind of striking at you there, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So again, it definitely this thing definitely I think this thing turned into something special. Just again took maybe like a little after Act One to really to kind of like really heat up, and it got really good. Okay.
Okay, let's see. All right, so now we go to TV.
Yeah, let's click on. All right.
All right. Oh God, Boba Fett. Where?
Yes. So the Book of Boba Fett.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately,
what more needs to be said at this point?
unfortunately,
I don't hate this show. I just think it's a fascinating kind of flop. I really do.
I mean,
I think this show has really good stuff in it. I think episode 2, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think it's one of the absolute high points of Disney Star Wars media.
So, unfortunately, Book of Boba Fett did not surpass Mando, as I think many people hoped or expected. Was like the fact that we get a Mando show because of all the love for Boba Fett and how that works. ultimately ends up getting hijacked by Mando because Disney Plus just will not give these shows more episodes in time to make itself more like, hey, it's the Boba
Disney
Fett
Plus is
show.
literally having the opposite problem with the Marvel Netflix stuff.
It's just it's kind of like karma in the worst way, isn't it? It's like, well, you wanted shorter seasons. There you go. It's like, well, look,
Right,
they're
right,
short. I mean,
yeah,
look,
yeah,
you
pretty
promised
much.
me. You said Falcon Winter
Like, give us
Soldier's
10, Disney. Come on, 10. That's what pretty much every other streaming service does.
I mean, at the very least, you guys said like, "Hey, Falcon Winter Soldier, 6 hour movie, 4 hours, 4.5 hours. There's a difference."
Uh-huh.
Okay, not the same. Not the same. All right. So at the end of the day, look, Book of Boba Fett, it delivered a lot of cool stuff like Black Chrysanthemum. We're riding a Rancor. Obviously, the Mando stuff, top tier. Just the premise of Boba Fett turning into a crime lord is great. It just feels like we got so distracted. We got distracted from it so much one way or another, and that weakened the point of why we're telling the story in the
Yeah,
first
we got
place.
distracted by it with the flashbacks, and we got distracted by it with
Mhm.
Mando.
Uh-huh.
I still think it's incredible that the solo Boba Fett in the current timeline stuff, like there's literally almost exactly as much screen time with that as there is for Mando.
I mean, pretty much, yeah.
No, I like somebody did the math on it. Both of them are about an hour apiece
Okay.
if you combine all the screen time. Anyways,
That's trippy.
like
So,
obviously Boba has more screen time just because of the flashbacks, but but if with the present day stuff, it's pretty much neck and neck.
So, end of the day, mixed bag that doesn't. I mean, for me, it's a mixed bag that doesn't make me dislike it, but it makes me worried for the direction of the Disney Plus shows going forward. Like, again, this is definitely, I think, a little bit more worrisome for the smooth sailing we had with the Star Wars shows. Of like, we're gonna be fine, and like, oh man, should I be worried for Obi Wan? you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like, is Ahsoka gonna be all right? Is she gonna have enough episodes? Is it gonna be like a whole like we're gonna set up all the other Star Wars stuff that like anyway? Yeah.
And you know what, Dragon? I gotta say, I do feel like a slight level of satisfaction just in the fact that like I have literally been saying for years that a standalone Boba Fett thing would not work. Boba Fett works a lot better as a side character, and I feel like this is proof.
Well, it's vindication, but do you really feel good about it, though?
Mm, a little bit, you know me.
Yeah, very sadistic. All right. Okay. Yep. Let me tear everyone
Like
else down to
basically a
feel.
supervillain origin story in the making, Dragon.
Let me tear everyone down to make me feel better about myself.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah, pretty much.
Yep. All right. All right. Kid Cosmic season 3.
Yeah, this was like I feel like this is an example of a show where it's like it's only 6 episodes, but man, they crammed a lot into those 6 episodes. It was super satisfying. I love how Papa G is kind of the central figure of this season, much like Joe was in season 2. They did a lot of really emotional stuff in this season. Kind of this season almost felt like Infinity Train light in a couple spots.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. I really liked the conspiracy. I was really drawn into the whole thing of Papa G having to come clean to Kid about it not being real. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. We did a full spoiler cast about it. Everything really worked for me. I would say I still think Powerpuff Girls will always be the most iconic Craig McCracken show, but I think this one, from just like an episode to episode quality level and a storytelling level, is the best.
Yeah. Kid Cosmic, I feel proves McCracken ended his show very strong and on his own terms, and again, it goes to prove that McCracken serialized in short form is the man's calling because he did such a great job with this show overall. Again, it's a clever call out in the superhero genre with with still like kind of like a grounded fantasy element to it. Like kind of the fantasy sci-fi of it all. It's I don't know. He had a balance. He had a really good balance with this show, and I think I like how this season ultimately it reins it back to what season one was at its core, which is ultimately this is a show about a kid distracting himself from his grief. That's ultimately
Mhm.
what Kid Cosmic is, and I think we hit the proper notes as we wrapped it up. So again, top marks to McCracken on this. Did a wonderful job.
Yep. Okay, let's see what's next. Peacemaker, go for it.
Peacemaker.
Because I am one of the few people on the internet who has not seen this yet.
Yep. Yeah, Tiki, I love James Gunn in the DC universe.
I believe every bit of hype I'm hearing for it, Dragon. I believe it.
Yeah, he was made to do these DC universe shows and movies. I hope we're going to keep him around for at least a while because I know he's not taking on like the biggies. I know a lot of people are begging him to do Superman. He's probably not going to, but still, keep him around for like there's word of some more Suicide Squad spin-offs. Like on me, I'm rooting for Polka Dot Man to get like a mini series, like to fill in the gaps of the origin. I'm hoping for that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but the show itself, though, I just love that I keep going over this. I just love that we took the basis of the comedian in Watchmen. You know, with the Peacemaker. It's essentially Peacemaker was the blueprint for the comedian in Watchmen. And James Gunn, he just turned this guy into a layered character. Just turned to a layered character piece, and it's the fact that he expanded on this on like a gag worldview gag in Suicide Squad. Like I don't. I love peace. I worship peace. I'll kill as many men, women, and children to attain peace, however it takes. And we just kind of saw what does that look like? How does that affect a guy who makes that sort of vow to himself? And we explored, and it was really good. It was very funny. It's very violent, very cathartic in places. Song choices, as always with Gunn, impeccable. It takes. I'll admit, takes a weird turn after 3 episodes, but it brought it home, man. I was really worried about it after the third episode. I was like, man, that's a really weird turn that you made, and I don't know if it's going to pay off, but dear God, it did. And I love episodes 6 and 7. 6 and 7, particularly the song choices in 6 and 8, are just gobsmackingly good, and just again celebrates the irreverency of living in a DC universe with the complex psychology of these characters really well. Just again, I can't recommend Peacemaker enough to folks. Good stuff.
Okay, let's see. I don't know why I closed the tab out of nowhere. Jessica Jones is next, I assume, right?
Yes, it is Jessica Jones season 3. Tiki, so you saw this for the first time. How did you feel about it?
I did. I liked it. I didn't love it. I think it's like straight up like smack dab in the middle of my Marvel Netflix rankings. Like literally, it's 7 out of 13, which is exactly in the middle. I don't know, Dry. I'm just gonna kind of repeat some points I made last night where I think that it's like leaps and bounds better than season 1 or season 2. I think the Hellcat stuff, while I'm sure it's not comics accurate, I think it does do a good job of kind of recontextualizing all the Trish storyline into like a big kind of like Greek tragedy of a multi-season arc. I think Salinger is a pretty promising villain, but they don't really do a lot with him, unfortunately. And the less said about Malcolm this season, the better.
Yeah.
He's just flailing around like a chicken with his head cut off this season, Dragon. I swear to God, that boy does not know what he's doing.
Right. Okay, so let me tell you about Raising Dion season 2.
Yeah, I need to check this out. This has been getting a lot of hype, and you've been hyping it up.
Yeah, particularly, I can tell you, man.
I guess
love.
my fear with it is it's going to be another Heroes, but like with how much you hype it up, it sounds like it's like way better than that.
Yeah, it's not Heroes, man. It's I love season 1. I'll admit, season 2, very different status quo. We're training the boys' powers this season. Where he baits its discovery in the first season, and very much is kind of like how the mother is processing it. That's very much season 1. Alicia Wainwright is the mother in the show, and she is so good in this show. How she's dealing with everything, the loss of her husband, and kind of dealing with her son's powers. So she's very much the MVP of the show. She gets a really this season. It turns really dramatic at a certain point, and gets really dire and grown up at a certain point in the season, which really impressed me. I did not see it coming at all. And this season we give Dion an arch nemesis this season, which is pretty big. Let's see. We have kind of a fun musical runner with Dreamgirls, which is kind of funny.
Oh, that's
Throughout the thing,
funny.
where basically they're putting on a school play, and something basically they brought on so the mother
Wait, the
before.
school play is Dreamgirls?
Yeah, so here's the deal. So just put it
Fucking
simply.
hell, I hope the gag is like, out of all the school plays, why did we do
Well, yes,
Dreamgirls?
that's the thing. They
That's
kind
the
of show.
gag.
Yeah, that's the gag
Okay, that's
essentially.
good.
Where
That's funny. That's funny. All right.
see the mother before she was struggling looking for a new job. She was a dance instructor, so she has
Uh-huh.
like dance and music kind of in her blood. She's friends with one of the dance choreographers who runs the dance studio, and that guy ends up directing the school musical, in which he changed it to Dreamgirls because he was unimpressed with what they were doing beforehand. So he said, "We're doing screw that. We're doing Dreamgirls." Just
Dragon Dreamgirls is one of the most underwhelming musicals I have ever seen.
so that's the thing. So he's
I mean,
loving it. It's
the
just
one thing with Dreamgirls is Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's doing a nice dramatic role.
yeah,
Yay.
exactly. That is the best part of Dreamgirls.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It was just the fact that the kids are like, "Why are we doing this?" And they're just kind of stuck with it the whole season.
Okay, that sounds legitimately funny. I think I'd get a kick out of that
There's another
as
thing.
a Broadway nerd.
I'll tease this up. There's a cliffhanger that fits into everything you've ever wanted in superhero things, Tiki.
Oh.
Yep, there's a cliffhanger. All right, something you're always going on about. They did it, and it makes you want to go back for a season 3. I don't know if they're going to
Flash
do a
forward?
season. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
There's a time jump, man.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's a time jump, like kind of tease it, like if they I don't know if they're going to come
Damn it,
back.
that's enticing. That's
I don't know if
enticing.
they're going to come back for a season. There again, it's like a cliffhanger. So don't get too excited. But it's a cliffhanger, but it's a really tantalizing cliffhanger of like, man, if they
Yeah.
come back for a season 3, they have a big place to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
But yeah, so again, Raising Dion continues to be really good. So yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
I actually really respect shows that can kind of like change up their status quo every season. I think Lost, for as much shit as Lost gets, I think it was really masterful at that.
I'll tell you again, if they do a season 3, it'll definitely be 3 very different seasons ultimately if they do that.
All right. Okay. Yeah, the Cuphead show, season 1. Dragon, I honestly think you'd probably enjoy this. You don't really need to know the games. You just need to appreciate animation history, and I know you do. A lot of this show is just kind of like fun 1930s style slapstick with also kind of like some 90s Nickelodeon energy in the main characters. The main characters very much feel like kind of like that, that kind of like Daggett and Norbert. The kind of like one is like Cuphead is very brash and he's a go-getter and a daredevil, and then Mugman is very reserved and cautious and paranoid, and I think that just works, man. I think it bounces off of each other quite well. We actually had Gulliver on for the podcast because he's a big fan of the games, and I'm a big fan of the game too. With the game, it is infamously hard, and at a certain point in the game, I think maybe about halfway through, I was just kind of like, yeah, I know my limits. I'm not getting past this, like I know when enough is enough. This is impossible for my skill set. But yeah, I don't know. I think this show is not getting enough credit. Like, first of all, it looks gorgeous. It really does. Yeah, it doesn't look as good as the games. Yeah, but the games were literally cell drawn. The games were literally 2D animated. So it's like, if you're expecting the whole, like, maybe they could do a Cuphead movie that was like that, but for a full series, yeah, you're delusional if you think they're going to do that much effort for a series. It'd take forever. Dragon Wayne Brady as King Dice is fucking amazing. And it's easily the best episode of the season. The episode is essentially... King Dice has this rigged game show where if you win, you basically go through this super secret prize door. And through the prize door is basically like a device that sucks out your soul and gives it to the devil. And so throughout the episode, King Dice is like desperately trying to throw this game show to Cuphead. And the whole gag is that Cuphead is so stupid and incompetent that he is like like he is making that hard to do. And so like the palatable frustration with Wayne Brady, Drake, it's oh my god, it's great. I would watch Cuphead for that episode alone. I really would.
I do love Wayne Bray, and also it reminds me of one of my favorite episodes of Rocco's Modern Life, where Heifer. I don't know if you ever. It reminds you never got around to watching all of Rocco, or was it Rocco at all, or what was it?
No, I watched Rocco as a kid, Dragon. It's just not something that really holds my attention as an adult.
Right. There was this
so it's like whatever I watched as a kid, I watched as a kid. When you're a kid, you're not really paying attention to like seasons and stuff like that, you know.
So there was this character who essentially was a fill-in for like kind of the Grim Reaper and or Satan, what have you. He worked for Satan, so I think he was technically the Grim Reaper. The point being,
that sounds like King Dice, because King Dice is basically like, the devil's henchman, essentially.
So you had this guy in like an executioner's kind of Grim Reaper's hood and an executioner's hood called Peaches. We called him Peaches just for
fun.
I
remember Peaches.
Anyway, so we had this game show set up. Basically, the steel. If Heifer won, he lost his soul, and he.
Yeah, right. It's pretty much that setup.
Yeah. I know. I'm saying you're not. My point is, you're not exaggerating with the Nickelodeon send up at all.
No, really absolutely.
Like, was Joe Murray involved at all? Or was it like just out of curiosity? Like, did you catch that name at all during this, or was it? No?
I didn't catch the name. Who is that?
Well, Joe Murray's the guy who does, did Rocco and Camp Lazlo.
Oh, no, I don't think he's involved. No.
I was saying it wouldn't be such a small world if that were the case. But okay, I think I give him the sales, but your sounds good. This Wayne
Brady, I will say episode 5 and also episode 6, which is a big send up to like creepy old school animation. It's got a lot of homages to stuff like the Creepy Forest and Snow White and the skeletons and stuff like that. And the Lonesome Ghosts. That's a great episode. Honestly, Dragon, I think episode 6 we could totally do for Haunted Holiday Hijinks. I think it would fit right in. Episode 5 is called Roll the Dice. That's the one you need to watch, man. If you don't watch anything else, I think you can pretty much just, because the thing with this show, and I think the thing that frustrated Gulliver, is that it technically has a plot with the devil trying to get Cuphead's soul, which is the plot of the game. But really, it doesn't matter. It's very standalone, kind of like situation of the week kind of episodes, a bunch of silly Nickelodeon style scenarios. And every so often, the devil will pop up and try and get Cuphead's soul. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, technically there's a story, but it's all mostly kind of like a static status quo. And honestly, Dragon, I'm fine with that. And I've been thinking a lot lately about how, like, I don't think every animated show needs to be serialized. I really don't. I think we're kind of losing something with the episodic animation. And Cuphead kind of brought it back a little bit, even though Cuphead technically is serialized, but not really. So yeah, episodes 5 and 6, Dragon. I don't know how much you'll like the rest of the show, but I know for a fact, especially with that Rocco's Modern Life comparison, I know for a fact you'll like episode 5. Episode 5 is fucking hysterical.
How many episodes total?
It's actually a super quick watch. There's 12 episodes, but they're all only about 10 minutes apiece.
Okay.
And it's literally like a 2-hour movie. And it does that Disney Plus thing where technically the episodes are 15 minutes, but literally like 5 of those are credits.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I honestly think Cuphead is getting very underappreciated right now. I really do. I think the people that aren't liking it are just not liking it because it doesn't follow the game to a T. But I mean, Drake, God, like compared to something like Uncharted, this is like the Bible of video game adaptations.
Yeah, aren't they getting the second season, Cuphead?
Yeah, they are. It's already been confirmed.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of season 2, Space Force season 2. So yeah, I really enjoyed season 1 of Space Force. It's kind of like the best way I could sum up Space Force, because it's a satire. It's kind of like a lighter, less aggressive version of the show Veep, which is basically is about like kind of a very kind of an angry Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia take on the White House. That's what Veep is. This is not that. This is just this is Greg Daniels and Steve Carell, basically the Office team, kind of working on this. Greg Daniels has his finger in a lot of pies these days, and good pies.
Yeah, Daniels is like a legacy comedy writer, Dragon. He really is.
Yeah, I mean,
He's had
Upload.
his fingers in a lot of stuff for a long time.
You got to remind me, T. I know I told you about this. Did you ever you never got around to Upload, right?
No.
Yeah, because the second season's coming in March. That's why I'm gonna
Ooh,
rewatch
that
it.
might be motivation to check it out, honestly.
It's really good. I think it's. But anyway,
You already know this, Dragon. We'll get into it with ketchup, but my Disney rewatch kind of like ate up a lot of my time this month. So
well, and for me, my Netflix rewatch.
Yes. It's funny. We were both doing like rewatch projects that kind of ate up a ton of time.
Which again, we can both blame Disney for ultimately.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I can't blame Disney for what I'm doing. That's just
well, you have like the positive way. Oh, at Disney, they had them all there, so I watched them.
They had them all there except Make Mine Music.
Yeah, it's just weird how that works.
I mean, especially because like Make Mine Music, I don't think anything in it is as offensive as the most offensive thing in all of Disney animation, which is the Red Man.
Yeah, what are they trying to bury with Make Mine Music? That's
I honestly don't know. I know that in The Whale That Sings at the Met, one of the songs he sings is technically an African American folk song, and so there's kind of like a loose slavery connotation there.
Well, yeah, but he's a whale, though.
I know. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, I mean, hell, I would even say Melody Time has more offensive shit in it. Just because, like, Pecos Bill, that dude's like shooting up the Native Americans. Yeah. He's smoking, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Anyway, so Space Force season 2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so Greg Daniels and Steve Carell, this is their show. I love the heart in this show, man. There is kind of an earnest quality to it, despite the absurd, the absurd satire of it all. Where essentially Space Force, for those who may not be aware, is a real thing. We actually have a Space Force here, which essentially is a takeoff or spin-off from the Air Force that monitors, basically any space threats, and kind of like, it's like it's like NASA's go-to, kind of like the periphery of NASA, that sort of stuff. Anyway, so it's kind of like, and again, just kind of when the first season came out, you had perhaps some extreme people in positions of power who definitely like had a presence in the show off screen. It's like POTUS wants this, POTUS wants that. It's like, hey, POTUS wants we want, he demands progress, no matter how ridiculous it is.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Steve Carell is utterly the heart of this show, man. Like you'll love Steve Carell as General Naird, who is like a guy who's just trying to do the best he can with like a bunch of.
You want me to be a contradictory asshole?
You gotta find what is it?
I'm just sick of Steve Carell, just very generally speaking.
I mean, this isn't him. Like, why?
Well, I will admit The Office is a big part of it because I feel like every YouTuber now is just using a shit ton of Office memes, and it's like I'm so sick of it.
That's not his fault.
Yeah, I know. I'm just Dragon. It feels like every time he pops up, he's basically just playing Michael Scott.
Well, trust me, he's not just playing Michael Scott in this. There's a three-dimensional character.
I mean, I think the best performance I've ever seen from Steve Carell was actually pretty early in his career with Little Miss Sunshine.
Well, yeah, sure. Well, regardless, this again, it's a little more layered than.
Also, Paul Dano's first appearance.
Yes, it is. Very happy for him. Of course, he's going to be really, hopefully, fingers crossed, very successful this month. We'll see what happens.
Dragon tomorrow's game day. All right.
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
Oh wait, no, it's not tomorrow. It's
well, I mean, it's the release is weird on this one. Technically, it was today for the critics, and there's technically the second is they had like an early release somehow.
Okay, but for us it's Thursday.
Yes, for us for us in the general audience it's Thursday. Yes.
I jumped the gun a little bit. We still have one more day to wait. All right.
Okay, regardless, and Carell. It's basically Carell and his wacky pals. That's essentially what the show is. I'll tell you one thing. I've mentioned this to you, and Jacob keeps chiding me for this already. I detest Ben Schwartz in this show. Utterly. I can't. So much like Ned from Earth to Ned.
I just love that the Earth to Ned thing happened as a gag, and it just totally manifested itself in real life with you.
Yeah, I mean, I kid you not. It was like that was the wake up call for me, and I looked at it.
I know. It's funny,
and I don't.
I honestly feel bad for the guy.
It's not personal. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Okay, so here's my point. So for season 1, I hated Ben Schwartz with a burning passion. On the rewatch, fast forward through all those Ben Schwartz scenes because I can't stand him. Chuck him in the garbage. I hate him. Mm-hmm. Now that said, he grates on me, but he was far better here than he was in the first season. After the first episode, the first episode was like, "Hey, back for Space Force," and there's that character I can't stand, and he's as irritating as he was in the first season. But after that first episode, he kind of they gave him more of a role, and they gave him like, okay, well, he's actually being helpful this season. So actually, there was a little bit of growth comparatively. I don't love him, but it's like, okay, well, at least he's tolerable versus what he was in the first season. That's progress for the Ben Schwartz kind of hatred that I've unfortunately been feeling for him in a fictional context. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Anyway, so basically, what we put in general narrative through this season, he gets divorced, which he had a really strained relationship with his wife in the first season, which is really hilarious. He gets divorced this season. They found a way in the writing to include his daughter, because the problem with the first season on the rewatch was we always had to kind of check in with his daughter. So we found a way she's like interning at Space Force, like for college. So it's like, okay, well, she has a reason for being there, and that's good. And like we had Patton Oswalt doing a guest spot. We got bring on Tim Meadows, like some great comic actors like that. I'll say this, I'll warn you especially for you, buddy boy, if you ever do watch it. Penultimate episode, I believe. There's a gross and uncomfortable medical scene I did not need.
Oh God.
I really didn't need, and for you especially, buddy boy, you
Why for me especially?
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It's a kidney stone thing.
Oh God. Ooh. Yikes.
And it is I had to look away. It was so just like horrifying.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, Dragon. Oh.
So anyway, I will warn you about this.
The times that I've had kidney stones, they've been so bad that the doctors have been like, knock him out. We need to get it out. We need to get it out now. He can't pass it on his own. And I'm like, yes, doctors, please do that. That sounds like the much more ideal option.
This is the nightmare situation of that, because they basically have to deal
with like basically like the whole where the whole analogy of like kidney stones feel like giving birth comes from.
In this it's more so Naird will not let himself be put under, so he has to be awake during the thing.
Oh, fuck that. Oh, God.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm going to warn you about that. If I were you, I'd watch and just fast forward.
I mean, I kind of like when they, oh, no. I don't,
yeah.
That's a little too TMI, but
let's just not.
Let's just say there was something about my kidney stone thing that they had to do while I was awake as part of the recovery, and it was fucking horrific.
It sounds like that's kind of, if I'm estimating, it sounds like that's essentially what they show in the episode I'm talking about. So if you watch it and you get the season,
it was literally one of the most white knuckle things I've ever done in my life.
So basically, if you get to that episode and they're about to do the procedure, I'd suggest fast forward your life. Just skip to the end. That's the end of the episode. Just skip past it. All right. Just when they get situated.
It's so far at the bottom of my watch list. I'm probably never going to get to it.
Anyway, I'll tell you this. Oddly, this season 7 episodes, I suspect, because of the pandemic, and it has a huge cliffhanger. Of like, oh god, they definitely got to come back for a second season based on that cliffhanger. So that's it. So again, I like Space Force. I'd still recommend it to people. Again, maybe not for the faint of heart during that stone scene, but everything else though, yeah.
And that brings us to catch up.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
Well, we both have a number of Sidney Poitier films.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we both have a number of Sidney Poitier films, because, of course, we celebrated the past. You
want to kind of just crack them out, just do kind of a speed round with them, because we already did podcasts on all of them.
Well, essentially, I was going to tee it up a little before we do that. But yeah, so again, we celebrated the life of Sidney Poitier and his contributions to film this month on Black History Heroes, which I encourage you folks to check out if you want the in-depth version of kind of our summations here. with a number of the Sidney Poitier films that we, with one exception, with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner being the exception, we all, to some degree,
I feel like Guess
for the
Who's
first
Coming to
time.
Dinner is the one that everyone has to see in high school. At least that's how it was for me.
Yeah, so the first two here, you and I saw for the first time. So, To Sir with Love.
To Sir with Love was such a big surprise for me, Dragon. I really loved this one.
Yeah, just one of the most, I think one of the most beloved Sidney Poitier films. As I mentioned,
I have never heard of it before this month.
Just crazy.
So like you were saying in the podcast, I feel like it's one of those movies where it's like the people that watched it and grew up with it really love it, but yeah. I feel like other Poitier movies have kind of like outshined it in the general pop culture landscape.
Yeah. I mean, I love how he turns things around. I love the conversational kind of teaching method and how he has like these great bits of wisdom, like an apology to avoid punishment makes you a child. Like that's great. Just the movie.
Dragon, it's a very cookie cutter plot, but this was like the original cookie cutter. Like this is the mold from which all the other plots kind of come from.
This is Granny's secret recipe, man.
Right. Oh God.
Yeah, so it also spectacular ending. I mean, rip, no ambiguity at all. Like, yes. No more.
Kevin Smith credits ending for sure.
It's like imagine Poitier walking in and saying, "Mr. Nolan, this is how you end a film. Forget the spinning top. Rip."
Well, to be fair, I don't think Nolan rarely misses with his endings either.
No, I have nothing against. No, I'm just saying in terms of like the master of the ambiguous ending and just like him walking in there, it's like. I'll grab that top. No, thank you. Anyway.
Oh, God.
All right, so that brings us to In the Heat of the Night.
Yeah, In the Heat of the Night is a very interesting one. I honestly didn't love it as much as I thought I would. I think out of the four we watched, it was actually like all four of them are great, but this was probably like number 4 of 4 for me. But that being said, it's still wonderful. I honestly think the only problem I have with it is that it's a little bit too convoluted.
I don't know about that. I mean, you still need to watch it a second time, though. So I don't know if
I do. You're right about that.
I mean, the big takeaway from The Heat of the Night, especially for the purposes in which we discussed it, was this is very important to a black film history. This film, this is very important for that because we showed a very
realistic, like it very much feels like kind of like a real world take on racism.
Exactly, which was so rare for the '60s.
But also kind of paired with like a comfortable genre that made it a little bit easier for the general audiences to get into it.
Yeah, because you're going to root for a detective to solve a case, but we put him against insurmountable odds, but in a realistic context. It's really good. And also climax just utterly thrilling. Like every black man's like Jordan Peele's waking nightmare is represented in the climax of this film.
I could totally see Jordan Peele making a remake of this. I totally could.
Yeah. Anyway, again, just pays off a ticking clock wonderfully. Of like these people do not want the mere presence of a black man in their town, and it's terrifying. Just great. So, in the Heat of the Night, though, definitely builds to a wonderful climax. So we I've seen this, but you saw it for the first time. The Defiant Ones, the original Buddy movie.
Yeah, this was maybe about the most uneven of the four that we watched, but I also think it's really likable. I'll be honest with you. I'll put In the Heat of the Night over this. But I still really like this. The big thing that drives this down for me is the cops. The cops are just like, they are so dated with how they're portrayed.
Do you like jazz?
Yeah, right. But literally everything with the two leads is just like super duper compelling and well written, and like you feel the character arcs. You really do. You feel these two people, go from like just like literally chained together out of sheer circumstance. Oh God, Dragon. Oh, the chain thing at the end. Jesus Christ, you're dragging the chain. Oh my God. I mean, that is powerful, dude.
Oh yeah.
Also, you know what I realized about our four Poitier films, Dragon?
What'd you realize about them?
Literally all of them have a theme song.
Huh. Yeah, you're right. They do.
Because Guess Who's Coming to Dinner has the Live a Little, Love a Little. And then In the Heat of the Night and To Sir with Love have like title songs, then this one has kind of like the folk song that Poitier sings.
Yeah, you're right. There is a
Yeah.
it's a runner, all right. Yeah. So,
It's kind of like a runner through all four of those movies.
if only we were clever enough to know that going into it.
Right.
All right. Okay, so then that brings us to, because now we've kind of gone through the Poitier gambit, that brings us to Attica.
Mhm.
Attica. Okay, so Attica. Yes, so this was the Showtime documentary, which, by the way, is...
Not Gattaca.
No, I know, not Gattaca, but... I know, it's really similar. It's one
Dragon, I have known so many people who are like, you know what movie I saw in high school that's a really damn good movie? Gattaca.
Me too, Gattaca.
Like, I feel like Gattaca is like one of the ultimate, like, high school required viewings that
Yeah.
actually kicks ass.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's exactly what I had. Yep, yeah, look at Jude Law in that.
Of course, I was also lucky enough to watch Doctor Strangelove multiple times in high school. That was great. But
I was
anyways.
not lucky enough to get that treatment, but yeah.
and Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay, let's not show off now.
All
So,
right, anyways.
Attica. So this is one of the Showtime documentaries that is nominated for the Oscar this year. That actually is something that warrants an Oscar nomination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was good so far. Again,
I still think it's really funny the observation that we kind of came to with the Oscar nominations, where it's like, for as much as the Oscars fucking love movies about making movies, they hate documentaries about pop culture.
It's crazy how that works. Just ridiculous. Anyway, so so far this has my vote for the Oscar. Mind you, it's kind of a dog race, but I mean this is the best. This is like the non-dog in that race, though. So by that logic, it's the best one of the bunch from what I've seen. So yeah, this is on YouTube. If anyone wants to watch it right now, they're making sure everyone can see it because it's Oscar season, I guess. Which is how I watched it. Yeah, so this is about the 1971 prison riot, where essentially the prisoners of Attica they took over the prison for 4 days because they were so mistreated. There's a lot of racism in the prison, and they were so mistreated. They decided, we've had enough. We're gonna, they took it over. They held like a majority of the guards hostage and everything, and basically made their demands. And there was like a civil discussion amidst this crazy situation over, hey, we want better conditions. We don't want to be treated like animals in there. And it was very simple demands. Like, we want the corrupt warden to be gone, better conditions, and hey, we don't want to be prosecuted for, obviously the last one's kind of a hard sell. We don't want to be prosecuted for this whole absurd that we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so, but yeah, there was sort of like sadly, kind of like a life imitating art thing of like this movie. Again, it feels like a movie that would be made, like a fictional film that would be made, but actually happened in real life, where it feels like, hey, the prisoners have overtaken the prison, they're demanding, it's like Dog Day Afternoon, but in real life, essentially.
Yeah, definitely.
And Tiki, the big thing with this thing that really impressed me is, dear God, there is a wonderful and terrifying buildup that you're rooting for these prisoners at a point, and when you realize, oh God, things are really getting stacked against them. The Rockefeller, the Rockefeller. I think it's the Rockefeller. Rockefellers. I could be wrong. I don't know how many Rockefellers there are around there, but there was a Rockefeller that was important. Rockefeller. This guy is supposed to go in and do
Chip Rockefeller.
Okay, not that Rockefeller. The other. Anyway, so there's a guy named Rockefeller who was supposed to negotiate the terms, and he basically he botched it. And what he did is he did not report that he basically made it sound like they were, they're savage and they're unwilling to negotiate, and that basically torpedoed everything.
Oh,
and
shit.
He basically threw gasoline on the fire, figuratively, and it leads to a gobsmacking climax, of which, oh God, it's like it's such a heartbreaking and tragic end to this thing. And I tell you, man, it's a great story.
And that heartbreaking and tragic end thing is kind of like, I feel like that's justification for my whole, like, I need to be in the right mindset for it.
Fine, get in the right mindset then. It's really good. It's a great story.
It's hard to go from like marathoning Disney movies to that, is all I'm saying.
Sure, but it's a great story choice for a documentary. I'll tell you that much. It's a great subject for a documentary. So it was well made. Now, that is that saying, like, maybe it's like, no, Bob Ross is fine not being nominated. I'm not going to say that. No, we should have nominated Bob Ross and probably should have won, but still, this was good though.
Yeah. I feel like at the very least, like movies like Val and Roadrunner, it's like, yeah, those are based on on pop culture, but they have so much artistic merit to them
Yeah,
anyways.
I don't understand how Val doesn't get nominated at the very
I don't
least.
either. I really don't.
I don't get it.
I feel like that's like proof that the Academy just has a bias against pop culture docs.
Oh, and that movie gave Val Kilmer his own voice again to a degree.
I know,
Like
I
they
know.
gave him like after the movie they gave him like the little predictive software thing. I don't get it.
All right. So let's see. We have Fun and Fancy Free.
I always
Dragon,
like this package.
Have you ever sat down and watched this? Like actually watched it, not just watched the shorts, but watched the whole thing?
No, yeah, I've watched the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh man, it is. So
It's
far,
the only way I've watched
so far it's at the bottom for me in terms of my rankings.
Oh man,
why? You're actually a fan?
I like Fun and Fancy Free, man.
Okay, maybe I'm just not into Jiminy Cricket. I've never been into Jiminy Cricket.
Wait, never?
Nah.
Oh man.
I just kind of feel like, I mean, he's not a terrible character. I just kind of feel like he's outdated.
He literally gives us Disney's theme song, man.
I don't know. Dragon, I'll make this simple. Bongo, I think, is maybe the worst short of the whole package film era. I really do. I just, it's so boring and nonsensical, and the whole thing with the bears slapping each other. And the animation isn't really top tier either. It's just kind of there. Bongo is just very, very average. And then I feel like with Mickey and the Beanstalk, I was familiar with Mickey and the Beanstalk through the Favorite Stories collection VHS tape. And Dragon, that absolutely cut out all the Charlie McCarthy crap. And Charlie McCarthy is literally doing a running commentary through the whole damn short. I don't like it. Kind of ruins it for me, honestly. As good of a short as that is. So yeah, I honestly think Fun and Fancy Free, like, I think the real worst movie in the Disney canon is probably Saludos Amigos, just based on the fact that it's literally 40 minutes long. It's barely even a feature film. I'm kind of shocked that they still consider it part of the canon. Like, honestly, for me, it's like, if Saludos Amigos is part of the canon, like, make the Reluctant Dragon part of the canon too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But anyways. Yeah, I don't know. Fun and Fancy Free. Again, I'll emphasize, I have seen Bongo and Mickey and the Beanstalk before separately, but this is the first time watching them together with the framing device. And I mean, Jiminy Cricket's fine, but you got to admit the McCarthy stuff is off-putting.
Hey, I'm not going to join your crusade to rail against McCarthy, man. I ain't doing that.
Fine.
Yeah.
He might be a pop culture icon, but he is disturbing in a modern day context.
I don't think so.
All right.
So, Django and Django.
Yeah, so what's this?
Yeah, this is a documentary on
I'm trying
Netflix.
to come up with a clever Django Unchained joke, but I'm kind of blanking.
So yeah, this is on Netflix. I found this on Netflix one day, and it was Tarantino basically it's basically Tarantino sitting down. He's essentially the framing device. I wish he was a little bit more the framing device, like all the way through, but he's there where it's important. So you're not really missing the point. But this is like Tarantino's love letter to Sergio Cabucci. Now again, not Sergio Leone, Sergio Cabucci. Now, this so basically the westerns that inspired Django and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the whole Rick Dalton kind of western kind of switch the spaghetti western. Right. That's really, so this is basically Tarantino kind of talking about the history of that and how it relates, a little bit of how it relates to his work. And let me put it this way: the way we use Tarantino like a weapon here, storytelling wise, and it's awesome. When he comes on, like he starts this thing off strong, where he basically lays out, I want to say, either a deleted scene from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or most likely a scene that he wrote into the novel, the huge novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I still need to get through that. I started it for my flight to Tennessee, but I never finished it.
Well, tell me, this probably, I don't imagine you got to this point yet, because just given where the whole spaghetti western thing is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I imagine you were far off from that, just given how long that book is. So I guess keep your eyes peeled if you ever come across this. Basically, it's Tarantino laying out this scene where Rick Dalton meets with Sergio Cabucci, thinking assuming, because like, hey, watch all these Sergio Leone westerns, and you're going to meet with a guy named Sergio, so he makes the assumption that it is Sergio Leone, and yeah, it's basically Tarantino speaking to everything he loves about Kabuki and the whole relationship between him and Leone and the wet and spaghetti westerns by proxy of this fictional meeting. And that's what opens the movie, and then it goes into kind of explaining the history of Kabuki and his films and the influence on the western. And again, Tarantino kind of pops up now and again to kind of weave a little bit of it in there, and you kind of see the influence. Again, it's not overly complicated what's going on here. It's pretty much just Tarantino kind of love festing about the spaghetti western, which is awesome. And again, it's just really cool. It's more of like kind of.
I mean, Tarantino, I think, is one of the more compelling film nerds in Hollywood.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's like bombastic.
I honestly kind of wish he'd make more documentaries, to tell you the truth.
That's what I'm saying. So, like in that regard, it's a really great.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, if he ever does like fully retire from making like films, I honestly think he could do a hell of a career in the documentary field.
I absolutely agree, because again, he brings the film history alive so much. Even just with him just telling a story and the way they edit it and everything. Yeah. They use like some concept art, and like it works.
One of my favorite things to do on YouTube is just to go on to just to hear him talk about like movies of the past like 20 years or so who have like made a mark on the canon of American cinema, and him talking about how it's made a mark.
I mean, this is pretty much that. I mean, it's kind of specified to how the Westerners influence things. I mean, yeah, but yeah, this was a good watch.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, 15 things you didn't know about Bigfoot. Number 1 will blow your mind. I love the title. I really do.
So this is on Hulu, isn't it?
It's on Hulu, yeah.
Yeah. So what is this?
This is a found footage parody. Essentially, it's got a few things going for it. It's very much a parody of clickbait culture, first and foremost. That's a big part of it. But it's also kind of a parody of conspiracy theory nuts and kind of travelogues too. So there's a lot of moving parody parts to this, Dragon. So essentially, the sell is that the main character works for a news station. And he's like one of those reporters where, it's kind of like the classic thing where he wants to do real hard-hitting journalism, and instead they're sending him on a bunch of puff pieces. And, he was going to get, he thought he was going to get promoted, and then it turns out that the person that got promoted is just this really loud, obnoxious YouTuber dude who literally has a series that's just kind of like reacting to new fast food and shit. And he's just like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? He's kind of like having a crisis of faith, if you will, like a crisis of career. And they send him to like the middle of nowhere for this Bigfoot festival. And essentially the whole movie is him kind of just going through, like, at first he's very put on. It's almost kind of like a Groundhog's Day sort of scenario, Dragon, except without the gimmick. As far as like he goes in and he thinks it's just going to be like a waste of time sort of thing. But then actually the movie, like, I think the movie in its first half has a lot of big belly laughs. I really connected with the parodies, all the clickbait type stuff. They do a lot of jokes about ad reads and shit like that. And then like through the second half of the movie, as we're introduced to a couple of the characters in the town, it does get to be a little compelling from a character point of view, and you start to care about these people, and the main character does too. And the main character, kind of starts to see the humanity and kind of starts to see that, the people in this town kind of just use Bigfoot as almost like a crutch for the depression of their actual lives. And so in a weird way, this really stupid movie does kind of have a big heart to it. And I really quite liked it. Now, I'm not going to put it over the Poitier movies. I'm not. But it is, I would say it was easily my biggest surprise of the month, because I was literally just kind of like browsing around on Hulu, honestly, I'm sorry, Dragon, it's not on Hulu, it's on Showtime.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because I was kind of like weighing the options of like, I don't know, should I cancel Showtime or not? Dexter New Blood is over. And I found it, and I was very, very surprised, Dragon. I really loved it. you know, I don't think it's like a masterpiece of a movie or anything, but like as far as like a pure parody goes, I would put it up there with something like Andy Samberg's Pop Star movie, which, as you know, I think is like incredibly underrated, maybe one of the funniest comedies of the past 10 years or so. So yeah, I would put it up there with something like that. I think there's a lot going for this little movie. I would recommend it.
Okay. All right. I guess lastly then. Oh well, lastly for me, then we'll have obviously we'll have an appropriately titled one to wrap things up for you. We have the Kingsman. So this is the Kingsman prequel that is on.
I'm just so bored by this franchise, just in general.
Well, did you ever watch the second one?
No.
How are you bored with a franchise after one movie?
Because spy stuff is just not my thing, no matter how stylized it is.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so regardless, the Kingsman. So this is a prequel that it was much better than I expected it to be. I gotta be honest. I didn't expect it to be bad necessarily. I expected it to be a little bit more like, oh man, I'm just waiting until I get to the third one of the two people I do care about in this franchise. But surprisingly, it sadly was killed by Spider-Man No Way Home, of course, because this is what it was up against, and clearly there was no way the Kingsman was going to help match Spider-Man. But it was another good King. It was another great Kingsman film. I mean, probably fared. I think it fared better than the sequel because it wasn't in the shadow of the first movie. So there is a little bit more of a standalone quality to it because this is about how Kingsman was founded in the first place. And the really cool thing is Ray Fiennes is the lead. The idea is Ray Fiennes, who of course is very, very dignified, and obviously now he's a little deaf. He's a fully ingratiated into the Bond films as M with that sort of thing. Ray Fiennes, you see the DNA of what we've established in the Kingsman movies with Harry, with the Colin Firth character. You see just kind of like the ideas like the Duke of Oxford was the guy who formed the Kingsmen. So you have like a dapper guy who basically was trying to stop World War I, and it ends up forming the Kingsmen. That's essentially what the movie is. And, Matthew Vaughn, I think he's a heck of a director. I love his style. I love the action. I love the polish he puts on. All of that is represented here. I swear to God, the bad guy of the film, they build up like a mystery reveal, which is a little, it's a surprise, but you know what the bigger surprise is?
What?
Is that throughout the film, it sounds you see the back of his head, there was almost like a Blofeld sort of thing. I would have bet you all of King Midas' silver that was Ewan McGregor, and it's not. It's a guy who sounds exactly like Ewan McGregor, but it's not. So that to me is like the irritating. Wait a minute, that's the bigger surprise to me that is not Ewan McGregor than who is revealed to be.
That kind of reminds me of Bad Times at the El Royale with that actor that looks exactly like Tom Holland.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's very much like that. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Also, it's kind of fun. The guy who plays Rasputin, the way Rasputin looks in the film, they do the whole story there. And the idea is we place Kingsman into actual history, which is like the whole Romanov family and then World War I. Anyway, Rasputin looks exactly like Alan Moore, and it's creepy.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and also you got Daniel Bruhl.
I mean, Alan Moore does have a very Rasputin look to him, Dragon.
That's what I'm saying. It's so darn distracting, and I forget if it's this. I think it's the same actor. Ruffin Ifans, the guy who plays the Lizard in the Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man films. He plays Rasputin, and again because he's all covered up in makeup, he looks unrecognizable. But it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're casting him as Alan Moore if we ever do that biopic, just based on this.
I guess so, yeah.
All right, so yes, Kingsman. It was a good time, man. Better prequel than I expected it to be, but it's no original Kingsman, but it's good.
All right. Okay, and I finally got a chance to see Coda. I pirated it because Apple TV Plus is a thing that doesn't allow you to watch any of their content if you don't have an Apple device, and I fucking hate Apple devices, so that's not going to happen. Sorry, Apple. Your fault. But so Dragon, this is a wonderful movie with one problem character for me. I think all of the stuff with the family is fantastic. I think Troy Kushner, I think is his name. He's the one nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He is absolutely the anchor of the film emotionally. It is really great to see like 3 of the 4 main characters in this film, like, obviously because of the subject matter, like they do not speak a word of dialogue throughout the whole movie, but they are very much fully fleshed out, 3-dimensional characters. Marlee Matlin I've never seen her in anything better than this, as far as like, I don't think I've seen a lot of her movies, but this is easily the most impressive I have seen her. Unfortunately, Dragon, there is a side plot in this movie involving a choir teacher. And the choir teacher is very much meant to be kind of like that inspirational, kind of like, oh, it's the teacher that really, inspired me and picked me up on my bootstraps and showed me the type of person that I could really be. And this guy, the way that the actor plays him is just, Dragon, I don't know if anyone has this with this movie outside of me. The actor who plays this, he plays the role in such a flamboyant way that it really feels like noticeably out of place and out of tone with the rest of the movie. And he's a big role, man. Like, outside of the family, he's probably the 4th main character outside of the daughter and then the 2 parents. I would say he probably has more screen time than the brother. And yeah, I think he is the one element for me personally in this movie where it's like, I really love a lot of it. I really like where it ends. I like the whole idea of, of kind of like Dragon. It's basically a leaving the nest story, if you will. It's basically a story about, the daughter is kind of like, she's the one, obviously with the title, she's the one person who can hear in the family of deaf people, and they very much rely on her for, communication. It's like a small fishing village. And so, a lot of the other fishermen are, very much kind of like, oh, what are these people doing? They shouldn't even have a boating license. They don't know, and it very much does explore the, kind of the prejudice that you have to face when you have a disability like that. How people just kind of think you're stupid, even though you're obviously not. You're intelligent. You just have a barrier. I don't know. I could go on about this. I liked it quite a lot. It did win the SAG award for best ensemble. And of course, our friend Gabby is hard of hearing herself, and she's obviously championing this movie. So just on that proxy, Dragon, on that proxy of that connection that we have, I really would like to see this win Best Picture. As far as I don't think it's the best movie in the Best Picture lineup, but I think it might be the best outcome as far as like a true like feel good win. But like I said, that teacher really is kind of flamboyant. Like I don't know what the hell the directing note was for that actor, but he felt very out of place. And like I said, I don't really know if that's like a common criticism with this movie or not, but for me, like the character was like very much like intended to be like a big, like, dramatic rock for the main character, but he just kind of ends up being sort of just obnoxious every time he pops up, which is often. So that's unfortunate, but it's still a damn good movie in spite of that. Okay, best and worst, Dragon. What do you got? Really quick. We're over 2 hours here.
Yes. Best. I'm torn between To Serve with Love and the Kingsman. I mean, I think the obvious one's To Serve with Love, but again, the Kingsman is kind of a recent one. But I mean, let's just say To Serve with Love. That's I guess it's what the actual.
I'll meet you there. To Serve with Love is definitely the best for me too.
All right. Worst. I mean, honestly, I don't really have a worst. I think that's the least impressive of the bunch. Is probably It's probably Uncharted, but again, it's not like an aggressive hate because again, I have no skin in the game. I'm not like butthurt over it. I'm not like it's like, oh, I had it all invested in that game. I sympathize with the people though, so I guess I'd kind of go with like, yeah, it's probably Uncharted. I mean, outside some Holland charm, it's like not much there.
Yeah, worst is Tall Girl 2, because unlike the first one, it's not even like so bad it's good bad. It's just kind of boring.
Too tall, too much.
Right. All right. And March, of course, is going to ramp up even more. We've already got the Batman to look forward to this week. So, yeah, should be a good one. Should be a good month.
We got some documentaries. We got, March on the Ryan Reynolds' movies in March. We got a lot of stuff coming in March. And the new Pixar movie. We got Turning Red.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
We got a bunch of cool stuff coming in March.
All right. So, let me... oh, Jesus Christ. Why does this have to be so long? Let me scroll down to the outro. Well, folks, we've waxed on long enough, and it's time to put the pen down. Until next time, when we return for another fitting chapter in our Movie Memoirs. The top, Nolan. It's all about the top.